All right, there we go. Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order and welcome you to your boardroom and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Supervisor Foy?
Here.
Supervisor Parks?
Here.
Supervisor Long?
Here.
Supervisor Zaragoza?
Here.
And Supervisor Bennett.
Here. And we have Maggie Hahn, and Maggie is here for our moment of inspiration. All right.
Good morning, Chairman Bennett, distinguished supervisors, CEO Powers.
Good morning, Maggie.
My name is Maggie Hahn, and I just want to thank you for including me in your New Year's kickoff. It's quite an honor. Chairman Bennett granted me the freedom to speak about any topic of my choosing, just as long as I don't say anything nice about the supervisors. But I am allowed to express my gratitude to the county family that I work with. And so what I'd like to do is offer what is not so much as an early Valentine's Day card as a long overdue one. Because I've been a well-served county customer for many years. And in 2012, I joined the county as the assistant to Assistant CEO Matt Powers. And because the county executive office is the umbrella organization, Matt Carroll. Yeah, right. You're so tight. Yeah.
We have an announcement from Mike later in the meeting that he doesn't know about yet. Right?
And because the county executive office is the umbrella organization for almost 30 agencies and departments, I've been able to view the county ecosystem from a very privileged vantage point. And during these past 2 years, we have dozens of agency and county personnel filing through our office every week. And I have been witness to a surpassing level of dedication. People working very hard to fulfill our county mission of creating a safe, healthy, and vibrant community. When I first started here, it was during the creation of the hospital replacement wing. And I just presumed that Barry Fisher and Bob Gonzalez were recently hired CEO staffers because, every day when I left at the end of the day, they were hunched over their laptops. And when I came back in the morning, they were hunched over their laptops, only in different clothes. But I just wondered why nobody could find cubicles for these guys. And then I eventually learned that they ran the healthcare agency. Now, there are many examples of personal sacrifice and dedication by HCA personnel, so it was moving, although not entirely surprising, when a call came in last August from stage 4 cancer patient James Clancy of Camarillo. James Clancy called just to express how touched and blessed he felt by the compassionate care he was given by his VC-MC staff members, and he still feels this way. People like Nurse Teresa Sampson, Dr. Evan Slater, Dr. Ani Fleissig, and many, many others. And it's been a joy to witness this kind of professional enthusiasm at all levels across the county. CEO Mike Powers is a public servant whose humility is noteworthy, given his impressive range of aptitudes. I mean, he can't belt out an aria the way Elaine Crandall can. But his direct, solution-oriented approach really sets the tone for the rest of us. And he is an unfailingly gracious and affable surgical strike commando. Matt Carroll once pointed to Mike's office and he said, "Back there is the smartest person I have ever worked with." And Matt thinks that Mike was talking about Mike's assistant, Veronica. And speaking of Veronica Gonzalez, happy birthday, Veronica. When you're dealing with Veronica, your money's safe if you bet that she will give you the right answer to your question. And it's even safer if you bet that she will exercise sound judgment within any given situation. And day in, day out, I witness Matt Carroll's staggering output with no let-up in quantity or quality and an energy level that never flags. This county is very lucky to have him. And I won't get into the weeds about all the things a CFO does regarding controllership, treasury, and economic strategy, but suffice it to say that the CFO is very much like the rhythm section in a band. All the other musicians can be in top form, but if your drummer's off, there goes the program. And I do know these things about CFO Paul Dursey. 1, no matter how early I get to the office, he's already there. 2, I've never physically witnessed him leaving to go home. And 3, Moody's keeps putting A's on our report card. And the county has other passionate individuals, such as Public Works Director Jeff Pratt and Deputy Executive Officer Sue Hughes, who explained how water makes its way across the county to my faucet, and how to orchestrate something called a watersheds coalition. And their descriptions were much sunnier, thank you, than a dead body in a reservoir or Jack Nicholson getting his nose slashed. And, of course, you all know Labor Relations Officers Catherine Rodriguez, Tabine Cosio, and Jim Dembowski. This trio manages to remain remarkably good-natured while herding a wide variety of cats. And then there are the security guards in our admin building who set our compasses straight and bookend our days in a most delightful way. Miss Diana, Miss Margie, and Mr. Dorr. And a shout-out to our fourth-floor custodian, Olivia, whose attention to detail is very much appreciated. And to the wonderful clerks of the board, and to the angels in fiscal and admin. There's even a person named Angel in fiscal and admin. Thank you for your patience with all these eye-crossing forms and procedures. I don't know how you do it. And I know you know I don't know how you do it. And lastly, as the Sony Corporation knows all too well, IT is the nexus of any organization. And I personally believe that our IT rapid response team should wear paramedics' uniforms. All of this is just a tiny sampling of the goodwill that's practiced by county workers every day. I recently returned from a region where the local church ministry is basically all that stands between the surrounding populace and despair, because their public service entities are so compromised. Their landscape is refuse. They construct shelters from the items collected from that landscape. There's no hot water. Their roads are deeply cratered. Basically, the only constants in their lives are scarcity and fear. So I'd like to conclude this overdue Valentine's Day card to county workers at all levels, in all counties, and all agencies, rather, by thanking you. Thank you for, not for being perfect, because that'll never happen, but thank you for helping to protect us from the kind of suffering that exists in so many regions, even in counties across this nation. Thank you for reinforcing that fragile line between comfort and suffering. It's easy to get bogged down or even discouraged in day-to-day work requirements, and it's easy to lose sight of the overall value of your efforts. But I'd like to remind you that your work for the county is a form of ministry. Just ask patient James Clancy. God bless you.
Maggie, thank you very much. Would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to start our meeting, please?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And board members, I'm going to just ask that we do agenda review before we do the ceremonial swearing in, so that we quickly know what we have here. So, Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Chair Bennett. Just a few items. Item 24, Harbor Department, approval of the Second Amendment to the leases with Oxnard Marinas. Modified agenda, page 5, only to reflect recommendations 1, 2, and 3 require a 4/5 vote, not recommendation 4. So items 1, 2, and 3 require 4/5 vote, not recommendation 4. Item 39, Sheriff's Office Emergency Proclamation in Santa Paula. Request this item to be heard on the regular agenda so we can provide a verbal status update to your board. Item 43, Sheriff's Office, grant application for funding for the construction of adult local crime facilities. A PowerPoint has been submitted. Item 44, Resource Management Agency. Presentation on the Environmental Health Division's mobile applications. A PowerPoint's been submitted. Item 48, Healthcare Agency. Presentation on their new Health Access and Education Center. A PowerPoint's been submitted. And there's two addendum agenda items. Item 67, CEO's Office authorization for the transfer and reclassification of 17 HCA HR allocations to the CEO's office. And finally, item 68, Supervisor Parks, reappointment of current individuals to various boards and commissions. And that's it.
Thank you, and I'd like to ask that we, that item 52, that we hear that at 9:45 this morning. We've had some people request that based on their availability to come and speak on the item. With that, we need a motion to accept the agenda as modified.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. We're ready to vote. And that motion passes, and I'm very pleased to introduce the presiding judge of the Superior Courts, the Honorable Donald Coleman, to do our ceremonial swearing in. Judge Coleman, thank you very much. And Brian, you'll help assist with this. And then we have, we'll have all of our elected officials that are going to be sworn in. Where do you want them, Brian? Right there, right in front. There we go.
Leave our awesome tax collection. Bring it quick. I got my own.
Is somebody taking pictures?
No, you want somebody to? Cruz.
All right, where would you all like to stand? Where's the best place to take pictures? I'm taking pictures, and I'll try and stay out of the way, so you folks get the picture, not me.
Oh, there's plenty. People taking pictures.
Any way you want to go. Where's the best? Where's your best angle? Mine's back here. All right, I'm going to say the word "I," then I need each of you to state your names. But I do need you to raise your right hand. Very good. You've done this before, haven't you?
I mean, it's your last few moments as a CEO.
Do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of California. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I will bear true faith and allegiance. To the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of California. I take this obligation freely. Without any mental reservation. Or purpose of evasion. And that I will faithfully. Discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations. All right, thank you. And I thank you for allowing me to swear in these wonderful people. We're blessed to have such great elected representatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge, for coming over. We really appreciate it. We have one more item before we will take a short break, and that is the election of our chair and our vice chair, and then we'll take a quick 20-minute break.
You can let him exit.
Okay, go ahead and move the nomination of Supervisor Long for
I
chair.
hadn't opened the item yet, but I'll go ahead and open the item. I just wanted to make sure. Are you sure right? All right. All right. It's been. All right. We have a motion. We have a motion to nominate Supervisor Kathy Long to be the chair of the board, and that's been seconded, and we're now ready to vote.
And Mr. Chair, can we take Vice Chair? I'd like to nominate Supervisor Parks
All right, that's been moved.
for Vice.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. And we're ready to vote on that. And congratulations to Supervisors Long and Parks.
Congratulations.
All right, now we're going to take a break.
We'll take a 20-minute break, and we'll be back here at 9:15. We'll start promptly.
Thank you all. I appreciate the opportunity to serve this year as the chair of the board and working closely with Supervisor Parks as vice chair. And yay, women rule. Skirts rule. And I'd like to take this opportunity to take a minute to thank our now past chair, Supervisor Bennett, for his service this past year. I've always appreciated your PowerPoints and your PowerPoints and your PowerPoints, your passion for foster children in our county, and you've kept throughout the whole year that theme, Steve. And we've had some wonderful stories of inspiration from foster parents and about our foster kids. You've been a strong advocate for our county family and our county agencies and the wonderful service they provide to the residents of this county. And it's been a great year with those stories, with your passion, and with your leadership. And I'd like to present the traditional plaque with the gavel for your year of service as our chair, and thank you. And I also have a special treat for you because we all know how much you love big, fat, delicious cookies. There you go. Thank you. And thank you. Any other board members?
Yeah, no, I too, Steve, I appreciate your hard work, and I know you're diligent to make sure this thing ran well, and you did a great job, and I really do appreciate the great stories we heard from your moment of inspiration. There were some really touching things of people's lives change and how they weren't just changing kids' lives, but they were changing their own lives. So thank you very much.
Yeah, also I just want to appreciate how smoothly you ran the meetings. You kept everybody on time, and also I agree with what's been said about how wonderful the inspiration moments were. Thank you for that.
And Madam Chair, I also want to thank you, Steve, for excellent leadership and running the meetings. And I think we had, a 14-hour meeting or something? And then we had probably one of the shortest meetings, too. But anyway, I want to thank you for the excellent job.
That was when I chaired.
Oh, that was under you.
And the cookies will be available in closed session. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, now let's move ahead to our agenda item, and we'll take the minutes from our meeting of December 16th.
Make a motion?
There's a motion and a second, and please vote.
We have to learn that now that she's the chair. She's not making those motions real quick.
Okay, all right, thank you. Then that's complete. And then our agenda review, we've accomplished that already. And we will go quickly to our consent agenda items. Anything on consent board members wish to call out?
I would like to just call out 23 to vote separately on that.
Okay,
And I think, did we pull something, Mike? You said there was
we did 39.
39. Yeah.
So why don't we act on the remainder of the consent agenda, and we'll do 39 and 23? Why don't we have comments? Linda, comments on 23? Or you want to pull it
It's
for?
a use of a product of recycled tires and rubber in landscaping, and I just think of it as kind of a polluting source or a pollution, even though it doesn't leach and all that. I'd much rather have natural materials in landscape like gravel or other things, but I'm glad that they'll be using less water as a result. I just have something about the product that doesn't doesn't seem as environmental as we should be. So I'll be voting against that.
I'm sorry.
I'll be voting against that
Okay.
item, which is item 23.
All right, then let's,
Do you want to make a motion? For this one or for the rest of the consent
for the rest
minus
of the
those two?
consent, we'll handle 23 separate.
They're going to pull one.
Yeah, I don't see the treasurer tax collector in the room at this point in time. I'll just ask my question about item 40 personally of him, then I'm going to vote for the item, but I just want, okay.
Okay. Please vote then on the consent, minus 23 and 39. Okay, all right, then let's vote on item 23.
So I'll make a motion when it comes up.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote. That passes with a 4-1. Thank you. And then item 39.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Long. Just wanted to give you an update today on the latest in terms of the cleanup efforts out at the Santa Paula incident, cost recovery status, the fire district's response review, as well as check in on the pipeline. It's something that we hadn't talked about before, but something that we're looking at as well as what's the status of the pipeline that's connected to the Santa Clara waste permittee out there. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kevin McGowan.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Long, Supervisors, Mr. Powers. My name is Kevin McGowan, Manager of the Office of Emergency Services. I'm here today on behalf of the Sheriff, requesting the adoption of the resolution to extend our emergency proclamation for the Mission incident. Due to the extreme peril of the safety of persons and property, the Sheriff issued an emergency proclamation on November 26th, which your board ratified on December 2nd, and then extended on December 16th. Due to state law, we're required to come back to you every 30 days to do another formal extension. So that's why we're here today. Over the past 50 days, emergency response activities have concluded and extensive cleanup efforts are nearing conclusion. Once the county receives formal notification from the United States Environmental Protection Agency deeming that the site is clear of any hazards, the Sheriff will be coming back to the board to request termination of this emergency proclamation, which we hope will be soon. My office continues to work with the Governor's Office of Emergency Services to recover eligible costs associated with this, the response to this incident. At the last board meeting, we were requested to come back with an estimate of the costs, and currently we're looking at an estimate of about $660,000 for response activities. So if you look at other sources, sometimes that amount varies, but that's based on what the private entity that's doing the cleanup is also incurring those costs. And we're not, my office isn't responsible for those costs. So right now we're looking at $660,000 as the impact to the county as far as costs go. In addition to that, and I'll let Chief Milkovich speak on behalf of the Fire Protection District, but we also have in limbo the issue with the engine that was located at that scene, and that could be an additional cost that we would look for recovery aspects onto. Lastly, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have, and if there are none, I'll hand it over to Chris Stevens from Army.
Can I just ask you?
Mr. Foy?
Yes, sorry, Mr. Chair. We have gone through the process, you're going through the cleanup. Are we at a point now where this thing is almost to the point to be reopened or not reopened, or what's the deal, or is the cleanup causing problems for something? Because I know Jeff has a special message for us.
That is a perfect question for Chris to answer,
Okay.
So he'll be following me up right now.
All right, so I'll wait till he comes up.
Okay.
And
Yeah, just a minute. Go ahead, Chris.
Good morning, Chair Long, members of the board. Mr. Powers, I'm Chris Stevens with the Resource Management Agency. We have provided a number of updates over the past several weeks. I'll give you just the latest. We mentioned the efforts of the solidification of the spill material. That has been completed, and on Friday, the final load of that material was taken off the site. As I think we described previously, it was tested before it was taken from the site, and all of those tests indicated it was non-hazardous. So those materials were taken to the Chiquita Canyon landfill just on the other side of the county line into Los Angeles. They weren't, because they were non-hazardous, there was no need to take them to a different facility. Once that was removed, an inspection of the concrete-lined area which was the central spill area, was done. It was found there were no cracks or any other indications that it didn't serve its purpose, which is to contain that spill material. So that's very good news. The soil testing plan was done to take a look at those soil areas around the concrete that were subject to the spill, and samples have been taken and sent to the lab. We don't have those results. We expect they will be available in probably a week to 10 days. And the incident command post that was set up has been closed. It was closed this past weekend. And so at this point in time, there are no longer EPA or Environmental Health Division staff on the site, as there have been every day up to this point. And then on the conditional use permit side, there's a lot of, I think, questions coming up regarding that the CUP remains suspended, so the site is not operating. There may be some activities out there related to housekeeping that the operator can do, but they are not operating in accepting waste and doing the business that they previously did. And I think as we described to you previously, when the permit was suspended, we indicated to them it would not be restarted until a number of things were done, one of which was the cleanup of the site was complete, which we're just about done with. As we said, we're waiting for the letter from EPA. The second was that we can demonstrate that they have protocols in place to ensure that this kind of thing never happens again. And the third was that the pipeline to the city of Oxnard was reopened by the city. So while the cleanup we're very close to completing one of those, we have not done the other two. So there's quite a bit to be done before that CUP is reactivated. And as I think we said last time we reported to you, that is something we'd be keeping the board informed of and report to you the progress in that respect. But none to report at this point.
So if I could add, all right, I guess you got the process of cleanup's pretty much done. Now it's the next is the protocols and the pipeline. And I guess somebody's going to talk on the pipeline issue. But all right, I'm just curious because at some point we've got a whole bunch of businesses out there that need this facility running. I don't know what they're doing, and we've got jobs and everything else that lie in here. So I know it's not a delay. It's just trying to get the process done. And so I'm sure everybody's anxious to what the estimate, if it's going to be open or not open, or what the deal is. So do you have anything?
Well, we've been trying to coordinate with the city of Oxnard as much as we can, and in fact, we're trying to put together kind of a joint workshop for those businesses and bring them in, find out what their needs are, what they're doing, get a handle on that situation. Hopefully to do something next week is our target. So we're trying to get a handle on what's going on in the meantime. The issue related to the timing of the reactivation of the CUP, though, I really couldn't even give you an estimate on that at this point. We haven't had any discussions with the operator, and I know the city of Oxnard has a number of things it's working on with them that don't directly involve us.
I appreciate it.
Supervisor Zaragoza.
Two questions on the Oxnard line. If that is not used again, and if they don't reactivate it, what happens to the residual material that's in the line from the
facility
plant all the way to Oxnard?
Yeah, we've heard from the operator that they're interested in flushing out the line. They haven't approached us particularly. I think they need to talk to the city of Oxnard about that as well. Haven't heard any of the details on that, but as we understand it, they're interested in flushing out the line to make sure there is no residual materials in there. And then, as I think Jeff Pratt will talk to you about, there's things interested in our portion of the pipeline, and I'll let him.
Because we have our portion too. Then
there's a portion within the county incorporated area, and then there's a portion within the city.
And the other question too, we don't have any additional trucks going over to or loads going over to Antera and Oxnard. That's.
Antera and the Antera increase in trips was ended several weeks ago.
Severed.
No longer. They are capped at their 24 trips per day.
Yep. Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, I do. I have a few. Excuse me. You indicated, or we heard a report, I believe, that the material that was spontaneously combusting is now safe, and that has been removed, correct?
The material that previously combusted, it was no longer present. It had reacted and was no longer present. The residual material, Correct.
Right, and we wanted to find out whether or what caused it to combust and what it was. Do we have an ability to find that out?
Well, we've requested the information from the operator. There, as mentioned before, there's the criminal investigation being performed by the DA, as well as I believe there's some work being done by EPA. And so we're not privy to a lot of that information and the records, the manifests and things. So to the extent that we are going to be able to find that out in a timely manner, I can't say, but I know there's efforts underway to do that.
Yeah, I think it's really important to find out what happened there, and that involves what chemicals were combined or whatever to cause that. Have the containers been all tested? There's a lot of vessels on site.
Yes, they have, and that's part of the discussion we're going to have with the operator is how are we going to handle the vessels that are still remaining there on site without them operating. And so that'll be part of the discussion about the reactivation of the CUP or not, and and how those materials are handled.
Well, and the focus here is, again, trying to find out what caused the explosion, and knowing what's in the containers could assist with that, and also knowing that there was radioactive material that went in the pipeline, finding out if any of the containers have that. So those containers all on site are going to be tested to see whether they have hazardous material in them that probably shouldn't have.
And I believe, and maybe Bill, do you want to, or Rick, speak to that? They have been tested, and you can speak to some of the results.
So all the containers have been tested.
Yeah.
And
maybe before he comes up, I would comment that one of those items we mentioned about reactivating the CUP was making sure we had protocols in place and we're comfortable that this wouldn't happen again. In order to really do that, we have to have as good an understanding as possible to what happened.
Exactly.
Correct? So there, we'll do our due diligence to find out everything that we possibly can.
Yeah, I think that's any thought of a new CUP shouldn't occur until we know what happened. That's what I think. Regarding the pipeline too, again, we're talking about it was shut off because Oxnard treatment plant found radioactive material in there, and you were just talking about the operator would like to flush those lines. If there's radioactive material in there, that gives us an opportunity to test the material. And are we doing that?
That would be part of, as I understand it, part of the flushing process would be to flush that out and test that material.
Okay, that wasn't mentioned. Good to hear that. At the last time we had this before us, I had asked if we can make sure that we don't provide any permits again unless they pay the costs of all this cleanup. Is that something legally we can do? Now we're talking about over $600,000. To me, it's like having an outstanding fine, for example.
No, I understand. I don't know. I don't know if council has it.
Maybe we
given that any
can
thought,
get
but
back to me on that when we find out, unless we know that.
Okay.
Well, at this point, those costs are going to be come from the declaration. Otherwise, they're still. I appreciate what you're asking there, but we're going to be restored through the declaration.
And I would think there'd be subrogation or something on the insurance and everything else for it. They would have some kind of coverage for that.
Yeah, there's two efforts underway. County Council and my office are working together as far as the responsible party aspect. And then at the same time, we're also working towards reimbursement through the California Disaster Assistance Act, which our proclamation allows us to then action those state funds. So we're working together on both, and ideally, we'll come to the right solution. So we'll be able to report back on which one of those solutions is actually actioned.
And I know the operator's having trouble with their insurance company, but the idea that if there is something that they've done that caused this to happen, something improper that they've done, and it seems that might be the case, taxpayers shouldn't have to pick up the bill to, pay for their negligence if that's what it is.
I would think the district attorney's investigation will then have some possible penalty depending on what they come up with, right?
And then just two other, I am wondering, and I guess it's someone who has more knowledge of chemicals and all that than I sure do, and that is, I'm wondering if it's a coincidence that Oxnard shut them out of being able to use the pipeline, and then days later there was the explosion. So wondering if maybe they were doing something on site that they wouldn't normally have done if it had gone down the pipeline. And then the just also wanting to ensure any thought of re-permitting this, that there is a hearing on it, that the public has input and residents in the area have input and all that. I want to have that assurance. It's not something that's going to happen over the counter if it ever happens. Is that possible? And maybe you can get back on that one too, if you have to.
As I said, we haven't really had any discussions yet as to what the form would be for a reactivation of the permit. And so I can't say that we have outlined that process yet and the decision-making authority, but I understand your desire that it come back before the board, and we'll keep that in mind as we look at the process.
And I would think that might rest on the DA's investigation, too. We'll have a lot to input on that.
And I think it's important that the public has input on that, if we reactivate the plant and so forth.
Our expectation is that there would be some sort of permit modification to include as conditions the protocols that we were just talking about may be necessary, and a modification requires a public review process. What the decision-making level is, I'm not sure. We would have to look to our zoning ordinance for that guidance. But there will be a process.
And it's important, and as I mentioned before, especially over, and I'm commingling things, but over in Ontario, we have thousands of people that live there and so forth, and we need to protect the public. And I think it's important that they have input into the whole process.
Madam Chair,
yes.
I just wanted to, we've continually wanted to know what happened, and we continually can't get really the answer to that question because it's under ongoing investigation by the district attorney. I just want to clarify my understanding, so as I reassure the public, basically we're not going to get the answer in terms of what the real issue was until the district attorney finishes an investigation, that information is released. But we have gotten assurances from the district attorney that if he turns up any information that would indicate there is a current public safety risk there, that he'd be communicating that to us all. Right. That's your understanding.
That's my understanding as well.
So we're just in this spot where we have assurances from the district attorney. There's not anything that we need to know from a current risk standpoint, but we're all anxious to find out what happened so that we make sure we take those steps that this won't happen again.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
One last question, Mr. McGowan. With Santa Paula taking the declaration forward to their council and adopting it, then they have their own separate track of going through the state for the reimbursement of their cost to their lost fire truck.
Yeah, that's correct. The city will interface directly with the state, but we'll serve as a coordinating force for that too.
Okay, great.
We'll continue to work with the city also in that effort.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The more communication, the better, as always. Okay, anything else on this item?
Yes, the fire department has an update.
Yes.
Chair Long, Board, Mr. Powers. I'm Mike Milkovich, Assistant Chief with the Fire Protection District. And just a quick update from our side. So we are continuing to monitor our employees that may have been affected for health effects from the incident. That's an ongoing effort. As we get more information, we keep them updated. We coordinate with the EMSA and toxicologists just to make sure we're taking care of our personnel. On the equipment side, we did receive the fire engine that the district had on site within the contamination zone. It is on our facility now, and we are awaiting the insurance claim adjuster to come out, do their inspection, and then we'll proceed once we get information there. The last item that I really have for you is something that we do as normal business on significant events or events that have injuries or high potential for them to come back for costs, and that is we have organized a SART team. SART stands for Serious Accident Review Team. We have tasked them with looking at an organizational level at how we prepared for, how we responded to, and then our after actions. And our intent is really to get better, to when we respond to these significant events, that we learn from them and that we do better. We have been about 4 weeks into that endeavor. We have approximately 2 more weeks of interviews to do with personnel on scene. A report is then generated. Conservatively, I would say 6 weeks at this point before we have that report. We will make that report available to you when it's available or when it's completed. With that, any questions that I can answer for you?
Right, so you were generally pretty happy with how you guys responded, I think, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I thought it was real
Yes, sir.
professional what you all did.
We always look, though, to improve.
Yeah,
So
I think it's a
we
great
will
attitude.
pull the items that we did well, but we're looking for those items that we can improve on, and we always believe that we can do better.
And with that truck, what do you see? It's not a full loss, or do you think it is or not?
Not sure at this point. We just received the truck. There, if you look at it, you go, wow, but we don't know until the claims adjuster gets out there and we really start digging into it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you so much for the update, Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Chair. I have one more, if that's okay. We talked about the pipeline a bit, and there's certainly the city's portion in their jurisdiction, but there's also a portion in the county's jurisdiction, which is subject to a franchise agreement, and we've asked Jeff Pratt, Public Works Director, to take a look at that. So,
Good morning, Chair Long, board members, Mr. Powers. For the record, Jeff Pratt with Public Works. We do have a franchise agreement with them. Their pipeline portion of pipeline that's in our right-of-way runs roughly from SR 118 down Rose Avenue to the city limits. The city blocked that pipe downstream from our pipeline, and so there was a concern that there might be fluids in it and they might be leaking. In the franchise agreement, your board can terminate it if they don't live up to the terms and conditions. One of the terms is that they carry a certain amount of insurance. Another is that they don't damage the public right-of-way. So to that end, we wrote a letter some time ago and asked them to provide, we'd already been on them about the certificate of insurance, which they hadn't provided, and we asked them to provide maintenance records for the pipe. Yesterday, breaking news, we heard from them after we wrote another more strongly worded letter last week and sent an email. They provided a certificate of insurance, but it's insufficient. We've told them so. And they said that they did maintain, they cleaned the pipe last year, and they will provide those maintenance records. And they've also said that they're going to empty it. And they're going to empty it downstream of the county, the portion that's in the county right-of-way. And they'll do that by getting into a clean-out, forcing the liquids, letting the liquids feed by gravity into Baker tanks and then hauling it off. And I just heard Chris say that it'll probably be tested after that, so we'll know more about what was in it. We've given them 10 days to respond, and we'll wait to see what happens next. And one other thing, if you do decide to terminate the agreement says that within 90 days they have to remove all of their facilities from our right-of-way. So that's it.
Jeff,
Okay.
Madam Chair, remove the facilities, the line, is that what it is?
Yes, and that's what it would be. Take the line out of the right-of-way. Now, I know that practically that's probably not, that's impossible, but that's what the agreement says.
And also, is there, maybe for lack of a better word, is there manholes where between the lines from?
I'm sure there are. I've seen the drawings, but I haven't physically seen them in the field. But they have the access points for clean-outs along the line.
Where we can actually inspect to make sure that
You have to send the camera down. It's a very small pipeline,
okay.
right?
Just like a regular sewer line.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
thank you, Jeff. And then we have our Public Health Officer and Ag Commissioner here as well if you have any questions. Other than that, we'll continue to keep your board updated and appreciate the Sheriff's Office bringing this forward. Thank you.
And I would just say, we know that some firefighters were injured and are disabled as a result of this from the city of Santa Paula, and just wish them the best. And I know that they were given information that that there wasn't hazardous stuff on site right when they went on. But at any rate, just wanted to give our sympathy to those folks and hope that they get better and back on the job soon.
yes, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, thank you. Again, appreciate the update, appreciate the due diligence, and we look forward to some further information so we fully understand what took place for the public's safety and interest. So thank you all for staying on top of this. Appreciate it. We need to act on this consent item. There's a motion and a second. Please vote. This is item 39. Okay, well, I didn't have any speakers on that, Brian? No. Okay. All right, so that, again, appreciation. Now are there any let's do public comments if there are public comments. No public comments submitted for the agenda. All right, then we'll go to and we've handled consent. Let's go to item 52. Yes. We'll go to item 52 as requested and agreed upon. And this is, as soon as I can get my act together here. Item 52, it's a recommendation of Supervisor Bennett and Supervisor Parks.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I thought I'd kick off 2015 with a short PowerPoint for you, all right, to make the day, and essentially just try to capture the issue here. Just a few quick slides, but some the important points for us to be aware of. This is the Phillips 66 rail spur project. Next slide, please. It's proposing to receive oil and trains of non-jacketed, that means not double-hulled, tank cars, sometimes referred to as, we have the safest tank car technology, and then you have these non-jacketed cars. The unit trains up to 80, 90-foot long cars. Total maximum train length would exceed 1.4 miles. Next slide, please. The EIR done by San Luis Obispo finds that there would be significant and unavoidable hazard risk. The safest tank cars are projected to reduce the risk by 74%, but San Luis Obispo cannot require the use of the safest tank cars, that is the double-hulled tank cars. They're simply not allowed to put in that mitigation. Next slide, please. And I just want to point out that we had resistance for a long time to double-hulled tanker ships hauling oil, and then after the Exxon Valdez disaster, they became required, and shipping safety has greatly improved as a result of that. My understanding, although I don't have this all 100% confirmed, but from a good source I was told this, I'd like to get this verified, is that Canada has now required double-hulled tanker cars, and as a result, the double-hulled tanker cars have all been shipped up to Canada, and Canada shipped their single-hulled tanker cars down here. I don't think there's any reason why citizens here should be exposed to this kind of risk without, at a minimum, the safest tank car technology that's out there. There are other impacts about this also. So Supervisor Parks and I have collaborated on a letter that if the board supports it, we would hope that we would have the chair sign it and send it up before San Luis Obispo makes their decision, in the hopes that San Luis Obispo would carefully consider that as they're making their decision whether to approve this refinery project. Supervisor Parks.
Yeah, we're seeing a tremendous growth in this type of transport. They're saying by 2016, a quarter of all crude oil in California is going to be transported on trains. And as mentioned, these trains are what we're looking at in this particular project over 1.4 miles long. So not only do we have the potential for disrupting traffic with these long trains, but more importantly, it's a risk that I think is too great for us to impose on our public. We have seen what happens when these trains derail, potential explosions. We've seen a tremendous loss of life in Quebec recently. And just looking at where we're taking these trains is through some very populated areas in the county. And I think it's really our responsibility for public safety to let the San Luis Obispo County know that this is not an appropriate way of transporting in a safe manner. We know that there's a lot of diligence that's done when we do pipelines and making sure that people are safe. But I think with this expanding use of trains for taking crude oil, we're endangering the public for potential accidents as well as the environment if they do spill. So I'm glad that we're bringing this forward, and I hope we'll have the support of the board on this.
Okay, are there any questions? Any questions from board members at this time? I'd like to just make a comment that in looking at the item before San Luis Obispo Planning Commission, that I appreciate that there have been numerous comments submitted. Specifically, our Ventura County Air Pollution Control District submitted extensive comments, and as we know, the Coastal Commission and others, so there is great interest in this. We do have some public speaker requests. Shall we move to that? Board members? Okay. All right. John Jay. Mr. Jay. Good morning.
Morning. Good morning, Chair and members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is John Jay, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Coastal Energy Alliance. The CEA is an organization committed to representing local businesses and stakeholders and workers within our local energy industry in order to promote a better understanding of our local energy issues. I'm here to speak with you today in opposition to writing a letter to the San Luis Obispo Planning Commission. The crude oil shipped on rail cars in California is a reliable and stable supply of energy that powers our local California economy and sustains good local jobs. Rail transport, by all measures, is among the safest and most efficient means of transporting and moving vital goods throughout our nation, as well as crude oil. Our industry has worked with state agencies to ensure the highest safety measures are met. The petroleum industry has worked directly with local fire agencies in order to ensure that first responders have the proper training to deal with any potential issues. Therefore, I believe that the Ventura County Board of Supervisors should vote against the letter to the San Luis Obispo Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jay.
Excuse me, Mr. Jay. Just could I ask you two quick questions? Thank you for being here today.
Sure.
One, does your organization agree or disagree with the EIR that there is a significant hazard risk involved in this?
With transporting oil on...
Well, the EIR for this refinery found that there, as a result, if they approve this refinery, it will have a significant increase in there will be a significant hazard risk created as a result of this. And it's because of the transport. Does your organization agree or disagree with that?
My organization states that we believe that oil transport by rail is a safe measure to move the...
So no opinion on the EIR. And then the second, you referred to the use of the safest technology, that the safest methods are being used. Would you agree that the double-hull tanker cars are safer than the single-hull tanker cars?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you. Ron Whitehurst.
Good morning, Board. I have some printed information to distribute. My name is Ron Whitehurst with Rincon, Vitova, and Secretaries. Today I'm representing the Ventura County Climate Hub and CFROG, Citizens for Responsible Oil and Gas, a group of concerned citizens that is interested in helping the oil companies meet their obligations under their permit requirements. The thank goodness the railroads are doing a really good job of maintaining a safe and effective transport of a lot of things, but then there's been about a 4,000% increase in the amount of oil moved by rail in the last 5 years. And the incidence of derailments has increased something like 1,000-fold in that time. And the all new improved rail cars are an improvement, but they have broken open on derailment. And so it's an improvement, but it's not enough to prevent a major accident. The permit, the EIR calls for an increase of 5 rail trains a week, each with 80 cars, each car containing up to 30,000 gallons of crude oil. And this is Canadian tar sands crude, probably because they're trying to get rid of it and they're going to decrease the price. So as far as price, the economics of it, it would probably be Canadian tar sands crude. And it's causing major devastation up in the boreal forest, and the native peoples are being poisoned by this activity. So the source of it's a problem. Then if you look at the usual situation of 5 cars derailing 5 or 6 cars, that's 180,000 gallons of sticky, dirty crude oil. That's a major problem for any fire department to work with. And so we don't need this oil. We need to move to renewable sources of energy. And so we need to say, stop. No more of this crazy activity of going to these extreme measures to get that last drop of oil out of the ground. So I would like to ask the board to approve this resolution, send a letter to the San Luis Obispo Planning Department to refuse the permit to be able to take the crude oil by rail. Thank you much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Todd Schuman?
Greetings. My name is Todd Schuman. I live in Camarillo and work as a substitute school teacher here in Ventura County, sometimes in schools that are right next to the rail line in Camarillo. And I'm speaking also on behalf of the VC Ventura County Climate Hub. I also, on behalf of the club, as Ron said, I request the board to support the resolution currently before you, to send the letter of opposition concerning this project to the Planning Commission up in San Luis County. The reasons to oppose this project are numerous, both local and global. Any 1.4 mile long train transporting heavy, sticky, toxic, and potentially flammable Canadian crude oil poses extreme risk to Ventura County cities in case of derailment. The EIR for this project notes that the impact of an incident which results in a fire or explosion could be devastating to any locality, no matter how remote. Moreover, any state and local mitigation measures that might reduce such risks related to derailment may be prohibited by the preemption of federal law. Even without derailment, these oil trains pose local risk. Emissions of volatile chemical gases such as benzene and xylene from trains moving slowly by or temporarily parked next to schools and homes adjacent to rail tracks threaten our children and our elders alike. Other local impacts include probable adverse impacts to road and commuter rail transportation throughout Ventura County. Oh, wow, I'm at 3 minutes already. I guess when you got to boot me, you got to boot me. The global reasons for opposing this project are equally compelling. I'm only going to focus briefly on one for time limitations. The project, because it will facilitate the transport of crude oil produced from the Canada's oil sands region, will promote further development of the whole Alberta tar sands economy. The combustion of this bitumen-based oil coming from this region generates at a minimum of 20% more carbon pollution than other conventional crude sources. And if you factor in other energy inputs concerning extraction and processing, it can reach up to 3 to 4 times more greenhouse intensive than conventional crude. So, simply stated, we don't want to encourage the extraction and production of this stuff. We feel our planet is baking, and increasing the promotion and combustion of this type is only going to increase the temperature in the oven that we're now in. If there's any grease that should stay in the ground on this planet, it should be this bitumen-based oil coming from Alberta. And this has been argued precisely by a recent scientific study published in Nature, which basically has argued 85% of the tar sands oil needs to stay in the ground if we want to prevent our global temperatures from reaching 2 degrees centigrade. So in any case, we want to keep this grease in the ground, and to do that, we must do our part. We should do what we can. At the least, we can go publicly on the record stating our opposition to a project that meshes us even more deeply in a carbon-based economy. And we want to be going in the other direction, and this project takes us in the wrong direction. So again, I encourage you to endorse this resolution and send a letter up to the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schuman. That concludes the public comment request. Anyone else? Receiving no further requests, we'll bring it back to the board for further comment discussion.
Madam Chair, I want to support this, and we have a very significant letter from the mayor of Moore Park, that they're showing concerns about the potential impacts, significant impacts to their city regarding traffic, regarding problems with their potential problems with their schools and businesses, and hopefully maybe the risk of a derailment that potentially could happen and impact their city and other cities in Ventura County. So I think it's important that we share that information with the public. And this is a letter from the mayor of Moore Park.
Yes, we all received that. Thank you. Supervisor Foy?
Yeah, I just heard the comment, Supervisor Bennett, in regards to the EIR said things like it's hazardous. I bet you if we did an EIR on automobile travel, they would say it's very hazardous, very dangerous. Thousands of people are killed every day when they drive those things. One of the things, it was a great piece I read that was said 99.9% of all rail meets and gets to its destination safely. There's no question that we've seen some accidents on rails before with oil. But at the same time, there's no question that rail travel is very, very safe. And it is Supervisor Long had said, it's increasing, and it shows that it's safe. Sure, if you double the amount of rail travel, you may have a little bit more of an accident. But at the same time, I don't think as a society are 100% accident free. There's no question. But we do need to make sure that we continue to offer opportunities for our fuel. One of the greatest things that's happened to this nation in the last few months is the lower cost of fuel. There's no question. I heard today it's at $950 billion, almost $1 trillion over the next year is what that'll be. And you talk about us who fight for the poor and fight for the people trying to find ways to put food on their table. That is one of the greatest things that's happened right now. The average person saving over $1,000 a year in that. But one of the other things is when you talk about these situations, you also talk about jobs. You talk about Napomo up at the refinery, keeping jobs going. And that's one of the things that we in this county, as Barry Zimmer and I talked about today, it was one of the problems we see is jobs for people, especially blue collar, middle class, high paying jobs are tremendous. We need to do that for our people. So we can never take away 100% of risk. And there's no way we could ever stop that. However, I think what you're seeing is greater chance of the double-walled rail cars will come. All that will happen, just like Supervisor Bennett said about ships. They will come, and it will continue to come and come and come because it's cheaper, it's easier, and it's less expensive. It's more expensive to put them in, but the insurance cost of that in the long term. But we cannot say in the long run, this is not the right thing to do. And I wish people would be more honest. At the end, one of the gentlemen was very clear. He was against it that talked. But at the end of it, he really said, it's not really about that to me. He really talked nothing about really the train. I just don't believe in that. I believe in green energy, and that's really what I want to go, and that's where my efforts are. And I think that's at least a little bit more honest. And I think we need to be honest here about what we're talking about. And so there's no way I could support this, and I was sorry to hear Moore Park supported this, or not even some. I mean, there's two of the council people that didn't. And it's important that we continue to bring jobs to our community, continue that we drive the price of oil down to make it inexpensive for people to do. And now, at this time in America's history, we are now the cheapest by energy place to produce jobs and to do manufacturing because our energy costs in natural gas. And that's what's come out of this. And so we have to continue to make sure we have that because that's important to people.
Supervisor?
I would just say we need to operate in a manner that is accepting what is acceptable, but when something is an unacceptable risk, we need to step up against that. A lot of this has to do with siting. You know, you're putting a large amount of oil on trains going through populated areas. I think of the community of Somas, and it does go right next to schools. And you do have accidents, and we've been very unfortunate in our county to see a Metrolink accident, and Metrolink also uses these rails. The exponential growth in this type of transport is providing an unacceptable risk to our county. It's a matter of siting, like you don't want to put homes at the bottom of a landslide, you don't want to put them in the middle of a way of floods, and this is the same situation. If we're going to be, for example, considering a pipeline, we wouldn't be considering a pipeline that's next to dense areas. So this is just a bad answer to transporting oil because it poses an unacceptable risk.
I'm not sure you could use that same logic when you go through the middle of these streets that we have in the middle of our towns with high-pressured gas pipelines.
And they have state laws that you're not supposed to put them next to schools, and that's exactly what I'm saying.
I know where I'm
So, I'll go ahead and make the motion.
If I might, I've had a request from Lupe Aguiano, a community public speaker. We'll give you certainly the opportunity, and thank you.
I was here just to support, this resolution, but I couldn't help but respond to Mr. Foy, and that is that in the memory of President Reagan, whom I served very well and received many awards, he issued and he responsible for the CEQA, and in violating the CEQA, I think that we're really putting at risk people's lives. And also, I just wanted to comment that now in Oxnard, we are having the Patriot company traveling through our roads, and I see that they're not safe. We see Cox Enterprises coming through a few blocks from where I live, and we have the explosion of Santa Paula, which is a wake-up call. And now I live on Social Security, and I put a lot of money into Social Security, and now I'm only receiving $29 a month. And so you're talking, Mr. Foy, about the economy, and you're talking about money coming into people. Well, we are having I receive almost monthly from Edison and from the gas company triple of the gas and the electricity that I have to pay for. I pay the utilities in the house where I live, and it is tripled. And so who's paying for the nuclear disaster that I opposed as a sister, as a nun? Who's paying for that? We are paying for it now. I am living on Social Security. You're talking about the economy, and you're talking about oil and the gas explosion in some Bruno. We worked in Oxnard against pipes going through our community, and everyone, when we defeated the LNG project, everybody congratulated us in Oxnard, because now taxpayers are having to pay for the San Bruno. Mr. Foy, the economy, people, residents are not able to substantiate and support oil and gas dangerous transportation like we see in Santa Paula. That has affected our firemen, our community, and the people who are in the hospital and who are suffering. They are Latinos who are afraid to come and see and have us look at the dangers that have, lives you're putting. My gosh, you are just saying what I hear you say, and what made me get up as a very conscious person in our community, that life is expandable, and that you can have Cox Enterprises coming through our neighborhoods, and you can have Patriot who methane was the explosion in Santa Paula, and you're having people like the cat who's supposed to protect the mouse, Are you having the people who you're relying on are the people that produce this, and it is their job yet to protect their jobs, but are you putting at risk as an elected official who is so responsible for protecting our health and well-being? You're risking that.
Thank you, Lupe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, board members, let's act on this. Okay, all right. Okay, go ahead. Motion? Did you make a motion?
Sure.
Yes?
I'm going to second the motion. I just want to make one comment. The arguments that we've heard here in opposition to this are the same arguments that were made for a long period of time by, for example, the transport of oil by single-hulled tanker ships. The same arguments, hey, you're going to affect jobs, you're going to, all of that stuff. There is a technology out there. It is not being implemented with this project. You can have a different kind of debate about this, but if you can't even adopt that, I think we saw how much safer the world became when they went to double-hulled ships, and they're not even willing to do that, and there's this opposition and the same arguments of the economic arguments and all of that that are out there. So I think that takes us to another level in terms of the discussion, and those arguments didn't hold weight back then, and they don't hold weight now in terms of approving something with inadequate or without the best safety techniques that you can possibly implement being employed.
I'm going to support this, and I'm supporting it a lot on what comments made by our APCD division as to the questioning the environmental document, saying there wasn't enough exploration of alternatives. There's no legally enforceable agreement between the County of SLO and Air Pollution Control District for emission reduction programs as a mitigation option. The health impacts are not well known. Technical appendices need to be expanded. We're in an ozone non-attainment area, and the impacts that could result of that kind of train traffic through our county. So I think for our local concerns, this is a good action and message to send to the Planning Commission.
Madam Chair, real quick, I think it's important that people understand too that the railroad crosses right through the heart of Ventura, Oxnard, Camarillo, and Moore Park, and right to the dense population of the entire county.
Okay.
So I'm going to support this too.
Okay, and that action passes 4 favorable, 1 opposition. Thank you to the public speakers and board members for carrying that forward. And thank you. We'll move now to our 10 o'clock time certain items, starting with item 43. Sheriff Dean. Newly sworn in Sheriff Dean.
Newly sworn in Chair Long, members of the board, Mr. Powers, Jeff Dean, Ventura County Sheriff. I'm here before you to ask that the board approve me going forward to seek a $55 million competitive grant under SBA 63 to add 64 beds to the Todd Road Jail facility for both mental health and our medically challenged inmates. This is pretty much the exact proposal, unfortunately, except for the cost increases that have occurred over the past 18 months in building costs and some other contingencies that were added in by Public Works when looking at it. So the total cost of the project is $61,500,000. About $5 million of that will be required to be a county cash match, and there's some additional soft matches will be made up through other services. I can go into detail if you like. I was afraid Supervisor Bennett would vote against it if I didn't have slides, so I do have 2 PowerPoint slides. I did go before the Santa Paula City Council last week and talk to their council. The majority of their council voted 3-2 to rescind their letter of opposition. There were several questions, some good questions, and one of them had to do with water. What was the availability of water? And so I had to defer. I had no idea. So Herb Schwind and Jeff Pratt from Public Works stepped forward, and in summary, in case it comes up, back when the original EIR was done, Santa Paula, then the City of Santa Paula, now the Santa Paula Water Works, committed to supply water for the total build-out of the project of 2,300 beds. We're at 850, 900 now. We're nowhere near that. To provide it up to 200 acre-feet of water. We're using about 60 acre-feet of water, and that doesn't count it. We use non-potable water for all of our irrigation. We clean our own water out there. We have low-use facilities. So the water's not an issue. That there's no resolution there. At the council meeting, one of the council members was suggesting that we should give up our water rights to them, and there's no reason to do that. They've already committed to it, and we're not using anywhere near what it was already built out. So that issue was resolved. The picture up on the wall, in essence, is our Todd Road facility as it exists today, right about in the middle between the city of Santa Paula and the city of Ventura. And the little rectangle you see is a proposed build-out for the facility that we want to add. It's already within the fence line. Part of the EIR, if you don't know, that was completed back originally was that 100 acres would be committed agricultural, and that still goes on. We lease out our property to Craig Underwood, who grows his famous sriracha chilies out there for the sriracha sauce you all like. And so that's all ag, and he uses water that under a 10-year lease agreement with him that generates significant revenue to the county. That water is committed to him. So there is plenty of water out there for that facility. This is probably going to be an 18-month process as we go through. The BSCC, which I'm now a member of, is committed to move much more quickly than it did in the past. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to vote on what projects get approved and don't get approved. But we are optimistic on some of the new guidelines put in that we hopefully will be successful this time around. So I'd be happy to answer any questions and ask your support.
Questions?
Madam Chair, Sheriff, the county portion will be 10% of the 10% match.
Yeah, 10% match.
Which out of the 61 is about $6 million or so.
Yes.
And there's in-kind monies there too.
Yeah, the estimate's about $4.8 million in cash that the county will have to provide, and the rest will be an in-kind match.
In-kind. Okay.
And this, I know there's some change in the new law that came back here for the new proposition that's going to free up your jail a little bit, but I would, my belief is, and you may answer this, is that even though people say, well, there's more room in the jail, you could do something, I think you need a complete separate built-to-do medical and mental health facility. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely. Sad as it is, we continue to be probably the major holder of those with mental illness in the county. Yeah. And I certainly don't think they belong there, but it's just the way it is for right now. And we do need separate, humane, safer facilities for that.
Right. So it works better to even do this, yeah.
Yes.
No matter what happens with your
jail. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
And I applaud you for moving in this direction with this addition, because it is a humane way to really approach these folks who are struggling with the other illnesses they have in addition to having some criminal interaction. So I think it's an excellent direction to go in.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, anything else, Mr. Powers?
I would just call out that looking at the other proposals, this is one of the few in the state that I think is tailored towards medical and mental health facilities. A lot of them are just straight up jail beds. This is really tailored to the purpose of what really prompted safety realignment to begin with. So.
Mm-hmm. And that's also what the state's been pushing for too, specifically.
Right.
That's what we're hoping.
Yeah.
Compliment to our sheriff's department for having that kind of culture to focus on that. So.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Please vote.
And congratulations on your appointment.
Oh, thank you.
And you have unanimous support.
Thank you.
For that. Thank you. All right, item 44, again, 10 o'clock time certain. Environmental Health Division, new mobile device smartphone application.
Chair Long, board members, Mr. Powers, I'm Bill Stratton with the County Environmental Health Division. The item before you is the official rollout and presentation for two applications that we've developed over the past year. We call the one the VC Safe Diner, the other is the VC Safe Beaches. And it's a quick and easy way for to view the results of restaurant inspections for your favorite restaurant, and also to view the most recent water quality monitoring results for various beaches along the Ventura County coastline. The first one is the VC Safe Diner, and we've got about 3,300 permitted food facilities throughout Ventura County. For almost 9 years now, we've been posting the results of our inspections on our webpage. This application is going to make that information much more easier accessible to the public, and we're quite excited about rolling this out at this time. These are 2 free apps, I should point that out. And once you open that app on your iPhone, you'll get the page that shows up, tells you you're on the VC Safe Diner. There are various ways that you can search for your facility. You can use the name of the facility, you can use the street address, city. There's also a map feature that if you have an iPhone, the slide on the left is what you're going to see. If you have an Android-type product, you're going to see the zoom in. The colored pin will show you where you're located, and the green pins, or the pins, will show where the food facilities are located in a various radius around you. For those of you with the iPhone, if you click on this button right here, that will zoom you in, and it will look just like this. We have some other features available here. Like I said, this shows a radius of either half mile, 1 mile, or 2 mile radius. So if you click on this feature right here, you can change that radius, and that'll pull up those pins within that radius. You can also, if you want to move the map, and say you want to go for Simi Valley or Santa Paula, you can move the map, click on that feature, and it'll drop your location pin, and then it will bring up the food facilities within whatever radius you have selected on your phone. We also have a list feature where if you click on the list, you will get a list of all of those food facilities within that various radius. We have the pass-fail system here, so the green buttons or green pins denote that the facility has passed its most recent inspection. If you see a red button, then we've suspended the permit for various violations of state minimum standards. If you click on a pin, then the name of the facility will come up, and from there, if you hit the information button, it'll take you to the information page for that facility, and you can see the name, show you the distance to that facility of where you're located. The squiggly line is the driving directions in case you're not sure where it's located. And from here, you can click on the inspection history, which will then bring up the screen on the right, which will list all of the inspections for that year, with the most recent being on the top. And from there, you can drill down and look at a brief description of the violations that we've observed at that facility, as well as the inspector's comments. So it gives you a little more information, a little more drill in about what the inspector saw during the inspection. The other way to look for a facility is using this search feature up here. And for example, we use the example of Taco Bell. You can type in the name of the restaurant, and it will give you a list of all of the Taco Bells in this example throughout the county. If you didn't click on whichever one you want to go to, it takes you to that inspection history, and you can then drill down and review the inspection history for that particular facility. And finally, we have a complaint tab. So this ties into our online complaint form. And if you have a concern about a restaurant that you're currently sitting in and you might see critters or something else that bothers you, then you can fill out the complaint form while you're sitting there. And we also have, like I said, it ties into our online complaint form, so there are other features that you can submit a complaint for, mosquitoes, rubbish, other issues that may be bothering you. Moving on to our other app, our VC Safe Beaches. We've been monitoring beach water quality for about 12 years now, and we've been posting that information on our webpage. Again, this is a quick and easy way to have that information right on your mobile devices. And very similar to the previous application, the map screen will show up. And we don't have 3,000 beach locations. We have about 40 beach sites that we monitor during the summer. That number is reduced during the winter to about 20. So you can see in the lower left-hand column, or part of that slide, a red pin indicates that the beach water quality doesn't meet state minimum standards. The green pin indicates that it does, it passed. And then the gray is that it wasn't sampled. So for safety reasons, if we can't get to a beach or during the winter months, we don't typically monitor all 40 of those locations. The I that you see here, we'll talk about that in a minute, but that will take you to a little discussion about state standards, what those standards are. If you click on one of those buttons, the green button, the name of the beach will come up, and again, you click on the I, and it'll take you right to the information for that particular beach. Under the list feature, you can click on the list, and it will list all of the beaches that we monitor. The green indicates that it passed. Gray, of course, is we didn't sample it, and if it's red, then it failed to pass. The right-hand screen over here shows you the distance to that beach location, for example, the Rincon Beach. Driving directions, yes, it passed. And then it tells you when we've sampled and what those results are for that location. What's interesting up here is we have a little, sea star. You can click on a beach and save it as your favorite on that favorite tab, and so you can just click on that and go to your favorite beach and see what the results are for that beach. The information tab here for state standards, it'll take you to a page that briefly describes what those standards are that we're looking at and those numeric values for the indicator organisms that we're looking for. Finally, we've got a button at the top. It says current advisories. So if you don't want to search for a beach, you can click on the current advisories, and it'll list all of the beaches that are currently posted and those that fail to meet state minimum standards. This slide was put together last week, and as you can see, there's no beaches currently posted. As of last week, we added a feature up here in the left-hand column, or on the top, that it isn't shown here, but it is on the app. And it's for those of us that may be undecided about going to work or going surfing, we've got the local beach report, or surf report, that you can click on and get that. So.
Did you get the Tide log on there too?
Mm-hmm. The Tide is on there as well, so yes. And then, of course, there's a contact tab if you want to get in touch with anyone on our beach program for information about that. The Safe Diner app is available from the App Store. It's also available on Google Play. It's available on our, if you search Ventura County Environmental Health Division, it's available on our main webpage, our homepage. It's also available on the County Mobile Apps Gallery. The VC Safe Beaches is also available from Google Play. We submitted it to the Apple Store last week. We expect it will be available this week or next week at the latest on the Apple Store, and that will also be included on the Mobile Apps Gallery as well as our main page. So I didn't do this. I need to recognize Joe Clark and his staff from RMA IT. Doug Beach and his staff to put together the VC Safe Diner, and Daryl Segrist and his staff for the Safe Beaches. So that concludes my presentation. I encourage you to download it and take it for a trip and see how you like it.
These are great. Thank you. Questions or comments?
I was just listening to Linda. I didn't think she was going to eat out after this. So.
I've heard people love it and hate it all at the same time. So, yes.
It's wonderful, too. I mean, it's as good as Yelp. Better than Yelp.
It
because you're
is,
getting the
yeah.
facts, and then also it shows you all the restaurants in your area. You know, if you're thinking about going out to eat, you can go right there, and it'll show you all of them right there. So it has more than just the safe aspect. It also has a convenience aspect there, too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there is definitely some of that. It seems like there's a lot of information in there. Thank you.
Yeah, a great way to service the public. This is exactly what I think when technology was first coming in, everybody was hoping was going to happen. But this saves everybody time. In the long run, you get this set up, and you really use the power of technology. So it's a great convenience for the citizens of the county. Thank you.
And thanks you for an excellent job. I think it's important, especially with the retail food facilities. We have a lot of concerns about that, and it's a great app to look at. And thank you for a good job.
You're welcome.
Are you hoping this drives people to be better? Yeah. Since now this is real easy to see in public?
It's much more easily accessible, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's great.
Do some of the violations drop off? It's been like 5 years. We can take that out now.
With this app will only show for the previous year, or the year that we're in. Yeah, it's a
Okay,
one-year
so it means they're
period.
current.
Okay,
right.
great.
We did on our webpage have years and years, but for the app
Okay.
purposes, I just want to look at the most recent.
Well, I think it's important. I mean, somebody had problems before, but where are they at now when you're going out? So I think it's great. That's good.
I like and use the Yelp function. Lots of folks do, and I think to be able to look at that and then go a layer next to say, this is great.
Are
Great
the,
application of it.
Madam Chair, are the facilities going to be notified that they're going to be on those apps? So they.
Well, I said this information's been available on our webpage for almost
Right.
9 years now. So
Right.
all we're doing is just making it
Put
a
it in
little
a different
more
place, yeah. So I
easier.
think it's, no reason to notify them there.
So they know it's out there
They
already.
put it on the smartphones,
Right.
yes. Okay.
So when I walk into that restaurant, did you clear that violation?
That's right.
You still put
Sure,
that
right.
raw meat next to the asparagus?
That's right.
You
Well,
found it?
thank you to everyone who helped put both of these together. These are definitely user-friendly and great public service for the public. Thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much. Board members, receive and file action on this, please.
Second.
That's right. Okay.
Very
All right,
innovative.
that has been received and filed. Thank you very much. And now we'll move to our 10:30 time certain. Try to get back on track here. Item 45. This is regarding the J Street Drain Project, changes to reaches 2, 3, and 4. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Long, members of the board, CO Powers, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tully Clifford with the Public Works Agency, and I'm the Director of the Watershed Protection District. I'm joined today with several people who are making the J Street Drain Project a reality, as well as our design consultant, and we're here to describe today the new J Street Drain app. Okay, that's not really true. I was just seeing if you're paying attention. We're actually here today to request approval of design changes to reaches 2 to 4, as well as approval of the addendum to the environmental impact report for the J Street Drain project. The limits of the project are from Ormond Beach Lagoon to Redwood Street. The project is an enlargement of approximately 2.2 miles of existing concrete channel that was constructed in 1961 to accommodate a 1% chance storm. This particular slide shows reaches 1 and 2, that's from Ormond Lagoon to Pleasant Valley Road. Here are reaches 3 and 4, Pleasant Valley Road to Redwood Street. The existing J Street Drain Environmental Impact Report was approved by your board on March 27, 2012, and we were directed to return with a revised CEQA document if supplemental funding was identified. Well, we're back. At that stage, we had recommended alternative B due really to the cost differential between alternative B and alternative A, which is the covered alternative. With the additional funds, we're now suggesting that we once again go back and undertake alternative A. We just finished Reach 1, which is an open design, and this is a shot of that. There was lots happening in Reach 1, and there is some differences between Reach 1 and the other reaches. For example, in Reach 1, we have condominiums, Oxnard wastewater treatment plant, Ormond Lagoon, an environmentally sensitive area, and numerous endangered species. For the subsequent reaches, we have been seeking additional funding. The sources are shown on this slide. We sought 2 most recently and were successful with 1. We will continue to pursue all sources of funding, including the new Proposition 1 funding. And this project, I think, will be very attractive for funding because it is a multi-benefit project. Just to list a few is flood control, water quality, endangered species protection, ecosystem restoration, and recreation. Moving forward, we have for Reaches 2, we have roughly a 17th month construction schedule. This is the existing view of Reach 2. You can see where there's fencing and shrubbery in between the homes. This is with alternative A with the cover. It gives the opportunity for the city to actually put a linear park there, remove the blockages between the streets and actually enhance the neighborhood, make it a neighborhood once again instead of a blockade. The impacts evaluated in the addendum are really similar to those originally analyzed in the environmental impact report, with no substantial increase in level of significance identified. All other mitigation for the conversion from an open channel to bird box culverts remain adequate to reduce significant impacts below a significant level. Therefore, it's the same as the original environmental impact report. So simply what we're looking for today is you approving our changes to the reaches 2 to 4, making it a covered facility box culvert, approve the environmental impact report addendum, authorize the Watershed Protection District Director to sign and file the notice of determination, and authorize him as well to take all action necessary to carry out the project. We'll, of course, come back as the project phases happen and identify the funding sources and whatnot in greater detail at that time. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I think this is fantastic, having a linear park over on J Street. I know that for years and years, the residents over in South Oxnard have complained about odor, complained about trash out on the in the drain, and I think it's just fantastic that we're doing this. And also, I want to thank the staff for an excellent job. What you've done so far with reaches 1 and so forth, and now we're looking to get reaches 2 and 4 completed. And just covering the J Street drain would be fantastic, for all of us. And I'm really also happy that the City of Oxnard is working with us on this. And I think it's important that we work together and continue working together on this item. And I know it's going to cost some money. We're going to have to look for some more dollars, but I think working with Public Works, with you and the City of Oxnard, where they can hopefully obtain some of those dollars to complete the project from Redwood all the way down to Wendive Road. So again, I'm really, really happy that we're doing this, and I think it's going to benefit not only us, but the residents over in South Oxnard. And to have a park there is going to be fantastic. We can probably use that for bike riding, for walking all the way from Redwood down to Ormond Beach, for that matter. But I really think it's fantastic. I think it's great, and I hope that I'm going to support, your request, for the changes to reaches 2 and 4, for the J Street project, and also and your request that you have up there in the board.
Are there other questions? I have a question in that, and I appreciate those comments, and the City of Oxnard is interested, and has expressed some support and commitment so far. But should we not reach agreement, then you'll come back to the board for revision of actions.
That's correct.
Okay. Should there not be agreement reached or money identified?
And I'm sure that probably the City of Oxnard will, work with us, because it would be a benefit.
They are so far, but again,
but that's a good point.
So you get the dotted line signed. Mm-hmm. If there's no further questions, we have some public comments on this item. Okay, Mr. William Terry. Mr. Terry.
Mm-hmm. Good morning, Madam Chair and Board. I feel blessed this morning to stand here. A year ago, I wasn't able to do this. And thank you, Supervisor Long, for your prayers, all of your prayers and well wishes.
You're welcome.
I support this wholeheartedly. It's a long time coming. And hopefully we can push Oxnard to get on board. Thank you.
And we will, with your good work.
Thank you,
Good
Bill.
to see you, Mr. Terry. Steve Nash.
Good morning and Happy New Year, Madam Chair, Supervisors, Mr. Powers and Mr. Berg. I always enjoy coming down here and listening to your wonderful staff. I think that you should really be appreciative of the great work that they do. So anyway, this project is wonderful, and I wish we could have had a better turnout. But I can tell you that the community is 100% in favor of this. We're taking an eyesore and turning it into a wonderful public amenity. And I don't know how you can put a price on that, but for South Oxnard, and Mr. Terry and I belong to Saviors Road Design Team, and we really have two issues, and that's the preservation and protection of Ormond Beach and its wetlands, and the betterment of South Oxnard. And this is just a wonderful project for South Oxnard. In reading the comment letters from the city, I was kind of surprised that they really only supported Reach 2 at this moment. But I will tell you that I'll twist as many arms as possible in order to make sure that we support similar improvements on Reaches 3 and 4. Money is always an issue, but at some point, quality of life demands that the funds be spent. This project dovetails nicely with the community's vision for accessing Ormond Beach, and I don't think that should be the importance of it should be underestimated. Certainly, to us, it's very important. And I was thinking about this project, and I've spoken to you before about what happened at College Park and Fire Station Number 8, and I know that you supported some sort of mitigation for the loss of parkland at College Park, and I think that this kind of lets the Oxnard City Council off the hook. Because here they're given park space basically. They just have to provide them a little bit of extra money and really again, South Oxnard just benefits incredibly. So anyway, I hope that we can get everybody on the same page, and I am just totally in support of this project because this is it never occurred to my brain that this could be possible, but here certainly smarter people than I came up with a great idea and a great project. So thank you for your time.
Mr. Nash, thank you for your advocacy too for South Oxnard. Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I share a little bit about? I want to thank the Saviors Road design team because I've worked with them for years and years, especially working over in Ormond Beach and all the good work that they've done for the community in South Oxnard. So I think I just want to thank Bill and Steve, and I'm sure that Roy is probably going to be part of those folks too, that really helped South Oxnard tremendously, the whole city for that matter. But I just want to thank your team for doing an excellent job for Oxnard.
Okay, Mr. Prince, Roy Prince.
Good morning, supervisors and staff and public. My name is Roy Prince, and I'm a proud resident of Oxnard, an upcoming wonderful place to live. And I am here today in total support of this project. I wrote a letter early on in the process in support of the a park that will knit a neighborhood that has been divided by a ditch for over 50 years, and also provide an opportunity for people in that South Oxnard neighborhood to have access by foot, by bicycle, to our beach area. So I am here appreciating all the work that has been done in the past by Oxnard staff and county staff, and look forward to riding my bike along this J Street Community Park. And I'll leave it with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Prince, for coming in to speak this morning, and to the public speakers. Okay, board members, it's back to the dais for a vote.
I'd like to make a
we have a motion and a second. And I too would like to thank our staff. They've done some outstanding work on this project to date. Been very responsive to the community. Surfside 3 is just delighted with the work that's been done, the success of the first reach, and look forward to creating miracles with the rest of it. Thank you again for coming in, and that passes.
And thank you, Jeff and Tully.
All right, that completes. No, we have item 46 for 10:30 time certain. Good morning. Keep me on time here, Mike.
I'm going to make some back. Good morning, Chair Long, and congratulations, members of the board.
Thank you.
CEO Powers. For the record, my name is Mike Pettit with IT Services. The item before you is a public hearing to repeal Ordinance 4285 of the county. This ordinance had previously authorized the county to charge for GIS land-based data. In bringing our county into compliance with a Superior Court decision, we're recommending repealing this ordinance, providing that information under the Public Records Act. We don't believe that this is going to impact our GIS rates at the county. We've increased business in other ways. We've shaved costs, so we think we're going to be fine. Actually, we're projecting a moderate decrease in GIS rates to county agencies and departments next fiscal year as a result. We're also recommending that you authorize the county executive office to authorize any charges for preparation of GIS data that we do provide to cities, just to cover our costs in that under this board item.
Okay, any questions? This is a public hearing.
It's a good modification. I mean, at the time, there was a sense that this was really expensive, et cetera, but it sure felt like this should become public information freely accessible to people.
And I would add, to support the public access, we've made all of this information available on our website now, and so it's easy to download for businesses, for private and public entities.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing. No public submittals. Close the public hearing. Before the board, motion and a second. Please vote. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now we have 11 o'clock time certain. Let's see if we can do some quick regular agenda items. 51, Human Services Agency. Maybe not. Okay.
Morning, Chair Long, members of the board. Before you today is a contract renewal. Actually, it's a new award of a contract for our automation system that does our eligibility for the welfare system. We're part of a consortium of 18 counties associated with this contract, and this would represent our portion. It's a $13 million contract over 5 years. The majority is allocated in state and federal funding that we receive in our allocation. There's a little bit of a change in the budget and increase in the cost this year due to overlapping between the ending of the contract and the start of the new contract. The system is a fairly large system. It represents about 40% of the entire caseload in the state of California is what it houses and what it operates that we're a part of. So if you have any questions, I will entertain those at this time.
Okay, any questions? No questions? Okay, any action by the board? We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that passed. There you go. Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Thank you. Okay, now we'll go Supervisor Zaragoza, item 53.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madam Chair. Our recommendation today is to accept donations for the purpose of acquiring real estate property over 9 acres and for operating a community center and a park. And one of the things that we're working on at this point, at this time, is an assessment district. We're working with SCI engineering consultants that have been hired to do a feasibility study and data collection and analyze if we can set up this district there at the 9 acres. My office and CSI have assembled a team and working with the 9 neighborhood leaders, and we're conducting this. We have just recently conducted a phone conference with some of the key individuals over at the 9 Center. As you know, the school district, Elder School District, declared the 9 Center surplus property. So our real estate folks now are working with the real school attorney, and to come out with a proper notice to notice the property before we continue with the negotiations on the sale of this property. So also one of the things that we're looking at is We're looking at grants. We went and contacted the Trust for Public Lands about possible grants. Unfortunately, this area does not qualify for Public Trust for Public Lands grants, but they gave us some potential resources that we can look at. And also we're working with the Boys and Girls Club and also with Oxnard College on some of the grants that we possibly get, to purchase a property. So we're asking the board to approve recommendations to accept donations of under $10,000. We set up 2 sub-accounts subject to approval of the Board of Supervisors for donations to purchase a property and also to operate it, and also for donations over $10,000, for the property to come before the board. And one of the things that we've done too is that if we get donations and this property does not come to fruition and we don't buy it, then those donations will be reverted back to the donors. So we're asking, that you can support the setup of the 2 accounts to start accepting donations for the property to purchase and for maintenance.
Okay, any questions?
Good step in terms of pulling the community in.
And we've had some good results too, with the individuals that the stakeholders over at Nyland, and hopefully that we can put it together.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
There's a motion and a second to support the action. Please vote.
Slowly but surely. Right. And it's going to benefit the children there.
Unanimous support there, Supervisor.
Thank you.
All right, item 54, Clerk Recorder. Special election. Woohoo!
Good morning. This is Jim Becker from the County Elections Division, and this is just a request to conduct a special election for the City of Thousand Oaks on June 2nd to fill a City Council vacancy. And we bill the city all costs that we actually occur after the election, and so we're 100% reimbursed.
100% reimbursed?
100%.
And what's going to be the cost of this election?
The estimate is $200,000 at this point.
That's what I thought I read. Okay.
Don't we get our 20% commission on top of doing that?
That's right, for being efficient and expedient. Okay.
Go ahead and move approval, and I think we're in for some very vibrant election too. And this is a step forward. Previously, the council's been appointing people to fill vacant seats, so it's nice to see that the public will have a chance to vote.
Okay.
We offer elections to anybody who wants them. So.
You guys are great.
Motion and a second. And
you guys seem to have an election going on every month or something.
Or I guess, and that's unanimous support for that. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we still have a little bit of time here. Shall we go to item 55, Mr. Bennett?
Certainly. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask us to reappoint Rose Gossam to the Area Agency on Aging Advisory Council.
Is that a motion?
It is. Thank you.
Please vote. One more vote? Who hasn't voted yet? All right. Unanimous. All right. Item 56, Mr. Bennett.
I'd like to ask us to appoint Jared Abernathy and Ramon Alejandro Hernandez to the Area Board 9 on Developmental Disabilities, 3-year terms.
Motion? Second? Please vote. Unanimous support. Item 57, Supervisor Foy.
I'd like to reappoint all these people to these different commissions. Quick and easy.
It's a motion and a second. Please vote. One more vote, somebody? Unanimous support for that. Supervisor Foy, 58.
And then, reappoint Bruce Tinley to the first commission.
Thank you. He's doing a great job.
He is.
Motion and a second on that, and everyone's voting, and everyone vote. And that's passed unanimously. Item 59, Supervisor Zaragoza.
Yes, I'd like to appoint Aaron Woodmeyer to the MAC, Elvio MAC, and also reappoint David Souza, and then also Donald Huffman and Julie Hupp. They're doing an excellent job for the MAC, and I'd like to reappoint.
Got a motion?
Great.
And a second? Everyone please vote.
Correspondence?
And that passes unanimously. Let's do correspondence, item 66. Need a motion? There's a motion. And a second, please vote. And that passes
Hey,
unanimously.
Madam Chair, before, do you have a spell?
Yeah, we have addenda items
Oh, we do? Okay, I'm
before we
sorry.
do the 11 o'clock. I need 5 minutes.
I was, oh.
Mm-hmm. 67 and 68.
Okay, all right. Item 67. That's okay, all right.
Good morning, Chair Long, members of the board, Mr. Powers. For the record, Kelly Shirk, County Executive Office, Human Resources. Today before you, we have a recommendation to transfer and or reclassify 17 positions from Healthcare Agency HR to CEO HR. Due to some staffing changes last year at Healthcare Agency, we were asked by HCA to review the operational unit for improvement opportunities, including whether or not the unit should remain decentralized or should re-centralize with county HR. Upon completion of the review, and the CFO or CEO HR and HCA leadership agreed that the unit should return to a centralized model. We believe this reorganization of the unit will provide greater flexibility and provide efficiencies in overall operations. 10 of the classifications will be reclassified to similar classes utilized in CEO HR. This will allow for cross-training with coworkers in the same functional areas and provide growth opportunities. Employees will remain at the Knoll Drive offices, and 2 additional CEO HR analysts will be permanently stationed at Knoll Drive as well. All parties, including SAIU Local 721, have met and conferred and reached agreement on this reorganization and reclassification of HR positions. We're very excited about the changes and new opportunities coming forward. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, it's before the board. We have a motion and a second to approve the recommended action. Please vote. I know that was a lot of work, but good direction and unanimous support. Thank you so much. All right, item 66, Supervisor Parks.
68.
68, I knew
and
that.
I had the pleasure of asking that we reappoint some really stellar individuals to different committees and commissions. I'm glad that they're willing to continue to serve, and I think they're doing a great job.
Okay, we have a motion. Second. Please vote. And that passes. One more vote. Been interrupting him. Unanimous. Okay, board members, 3 minutes? 3 minutes before the 11 o'clock? All right, board members, we're back in session. We're going to move to item 68, which is authorization for item 47. Thank you. That's what I meant, 47. Yes. Thank you. Ms. Madden, good morning.
Good
Happy
morning,
New Year.
Christy Madden, Deputy Executive Officer in the CEO's office. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Powers. We're here today to conduct a public hearing to modify our 2014-15 HUD annual plan to reflect a new project awarding $400,000 to the Saticoy Sanitary District for an infrastructure project to serve that community. During a staff-level public hearing on November 12th of last year, we announced the availability of up to $510,000 of unprogrammed current year CDBG money. We were seeking proposals for eligible projects from within our entitlement area that had the capacity to spend the funds prior to our April 30th expenditure deadline. The Saticoy Sanitary District submitted the only application for reprogrammed funds, and this project, in partnership between the district and the area homeowners, will replace the lateral sewer lines between the sewer main and the individual property lines for the individual properties. By consolidating and doing this under one project, it is expected to result in improved project management, coordination, and reduce overall cost for the project. Saticoy, as you know, is a rural, poor, and predominantly Hispanic and Latino and young community with a 2011 median income of just about $35,000. The project meets a high priority need of providing infrastructure in this low-income community and serves to facilitate the district's compliance with a Regional Water Quality Control Board cease and desist order that requires that they make these improvements by June of this year. As a mandate, the costs associated with this aspect of the project would be passed on to these very low-income homeowners if not for the allocation of the CDBG funding. We do have representatives from the Saticoy Sanitary District here today, Mr. Mark Norris, the Executive Director, and I know their President, Mr. Acosta, would like to say a few words. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Other questions first?
I don't have a question. I'd just like to point two things out before we hear from our speakers. And one, it just makes a lot more sense to have one contractor doing all of this work than to have every property owner separately hiring a separate contractor doing all that. As the economies of scale of that just make no sense at all. So this is really good government. We'll end up with a better maintained street, better maintained sidewalk, all of that, along with better sewer hookups, I'm sure, by doing it this way. And the second thing is, this all came up quickly as we had funds that need to be reprogrammed. We needed a shovel-ready project. This was right here. I really appreciate our CEO staff, in terms of their heads up with regard to this. And I appreciate the leadership in the community in Saticoy with the district having this project ready to go so that we can move with this. And so the diligence that you did, not knowing for sure where all the funding was going to come from, really helped with this. So it's great. Look forward to hearing from the community members here now.
And I would like to point out that Marianne Goriento of my staff really was instrumental in helping to facilitate the project with the district.
I'm going to give one other thing, and that is our moment of inspiration this morning. Maggie Hahn talked about, hey, you work for the county, you get to do great stuff, that makes you feel really good. This has got to make you feel really good. This is one of those things, you're taking care of residents there and stuff. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. James Acosta, President of the district. Good to see you. You've been serving for years in this district.
Yes, I have.
You're the wise one.
Good morning, Madam Chairman and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this morning. It's true I have been on the board for quite a long time, and this is a project that has come up for our district that has been a long time coming. And as Supervisor Bennett mentioned, that this makes a lot of sense to handle it in this way. And with the funds that are available, we weren't sure how we were going to do this. We were working towards meeting the edicts of the Regional Water Quality Control Board, but when these funds became available and through the staff of the CEO's office, and also with your indulgence, and we see how we can complete this project. And we again thank you for the time and the effort and the way that you'll handle this. So. If there's any questions, we have here today the general manager of our district. Any technical questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But again, thank you again for your indulgence.
Thank you, Mr. Acosta.
Madam Chair, I'd like to thank Jim. I've worked with Jim for years and years and years, and not only is he a leader over in his community in Ventura in Satakoy. But beyond the work with the community, he's also worked a lot with the Boys and Girls Club of Ventura. You know, you've been, I think you're probably right below and right next to the Harrisons, right, and supporting the Boys and Girls Club of Ventura. But I think it's really important. Did I hear that this is mandatory, that we have to do that? And it's,
yes.
The timing is just perfect then to help the disadvantaged community.
Yes, it is. We are under an order to complete this project in June of this year. So if this passes, this will be very instrumental in getting this.
So Jim, it has to be started by June or completed by June?
Completed by June. We are been working on this for a while, so we have the ability to move forward very quickly. We'll have the request for proposals to go out here in the next couple of weeks, and then assuming we have the funding, and then we'll move forward very quickly on that.
Now you have a good person working. I worked with Mark Norris for years and years too. You know, in the city of Oxnard. So
yes.
Great.
Well, this is a big deal.
It is.
It's certainly a big deal for the community. I'd be proud to make the motion here.
Madam Chair?
Question, yes.
I just want to congratulate whoever came up with this idea for this funding source. It's creative use, and it will help to reduce the costs that will be passed on to, that would otherwise be passed on to residents. So good idea, and I'm glad to see it come to fruition.
Okay. There's a, thank you, Mr. Acosta, thank you. Motion is second to move the recommended action.
I don't know if it's a technicality, but we do need to open and close a public hearing.
Yes, it is, not just technicality. We'll open the public hearing. Anyone further in the public wish to speak to this? I did that when I invited Mr. Acosta up. We'll close the public hearing, and now we have a motion
Now I'd
and a
like
second.
to make the motion.
And a second. Please vote. Good project that moves unanimously forward. Thank you again for the good work, everyone, on that. Okay. So now, item 48. Healthcare Agency, New Health Access and Education Center. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair Long, supervisors, and Mike Powers. Joan Arajo with the Healthcare Agency. I'm here to present to you our Health Access and Education Center. Whoop. If I break the little device. There we go. With your support over the years, the Healthcare Agency has been able to develop a vast number of clinics and urgent cares throughout the county. Did that switch? Oop, I went the wrong way. Okay. As you know, we are focused on providing high-quality, cost-effective, comprehensive health care to our communities within the communities we serve. But at times, we don't use our brick-and-mortar clinics. At times, we use our mobile units. For many years now, we've had our mobile medical unit. It's a 2-exam room clinic we're able to bring throughout the county. The mobile unit itself is actually a designated federally qualified health center. We're able to bill for the care provided in that clinic. And we also have our mobile mammography van. That has been upgraded over the years, and it brings mammography services to all the cities in the county and also to off-sites, sometimes to employment sites, farms and ranches, things like that. Recently, we came across this unit you see on the screen, and through much support and coordination, we were able to acquire this, what was once originally an RV. It belonged to the state court system. It was surplus, and they were going to be selling it for less than 10 cents on the dollar, and it had very few miles and very little use on it.
I'm sorry, Joan, it belonged to whom?
The state court system.
The court, so?
Mm-hmm. And I really don't know what they used it for. It was pretty much unused. So we were able to purchase that, and our partners at GSA put in new batteries and tires. The tires didn't have miles, but they had decay from sunshine, and put this lovely wrap on it, and we have put it to quick use. It has been utilized throughout the county. We're using it with our sister divisions of the healthcare agency. Here in this photo, we're ambulatory and public health together at an event. There are about 8 computer stations inside of the mobile where we can assist people or conduct education. In January alone, it is scheduled for 27 different events. And this is great because before we had this unit, sometimes our mobile medical unit was going out for this kind of utilization for education or outreach. And then it would be requested for the same date and time for a medical event, and it could only be in one place at one time. So this has really expanded our reach. Right now, because we're in open enrollment season, that is the focus at this time, and we've had great success. 3,755 individuals have been assisted this last year with outreach to sign up for Medi-Cal or Covered California, provide more information on how to obtain health care coverage. So I think that's a great impact to our county. There are several different ways that someone can schedule this, and we ensure that it fits with our mission. I do want to recognize Adriana Gonzalez, our manager of outreach. She has been instrumental in scheduling these events and coordinating programs where the mobile unit is at. And should Chair Long give all of you another break today, the mobile unit is parked out on the circular drive where the bus stop is, for anyone to be able to tour and look at the unit.
Madam Chair, did Adriana drive it over? You need a Class B license, right?
Then we need the medical mobile unit.
Yeah. It's just a regular license, but I personally would not drive it. I will leave it to Adriana.
What are the bookings with the other mobile units? Are they full? Are they moving at capacity as best and being utilized?
Actually, we've had to work with GSA on our mobile mammography and medical unit on reducing the number of days where it's at the yard for the regular maintenance because it was getting down to the point where we were having to not accept events or locations where they were being requested.
Oh, okay, good.
So, yeah, it's both are overly utilized. Yeah, it's a huge success.
Good.
So, any questions?
Questions? Great. Comment, Mr. Powers?
Just a quick question, Joan, and this is great, such a huge need. On your important contacts, you say healthcare for the homeless transitions. Can you just touch on that as it relates to that program?
Sure, absolutely. At the corner of Loma Vista and Hillmont, we have a clinic there. That is our cornerstone of our healthcare for the homeless program. And we use the term transitions because our goal is to transition homeless patients and any patient that does not have a medical home from self-navigating through the healthcare world, getting tied into insurance, and getting tied with a specific primary care provider, not just in Ventura, but wherever they reside. So we will see someone temporarily at the transitions clinic, whether they are discharged from the hospital, they've been in our ER, or come to us from another route until we can get them assigned out in the community somewhere. So if someone lives in Thousand Oaks or Moore Park or Oxnard, they need to be seeing a primary care provider there. And so it's strictly that. We thought transitions was the perfect word for it. When patients come out of the hospital, they're averaging 2 to 3 visits there. And that may all be in 1 week because of wound care dressings, I won't get graphic, or blood draws or other things that are needed before they can get tied in to a home clinic. So,
yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Take a peek. Thank you.
Motion to receive and file? One more. Okay. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you again, Joan. Thank you. Okay, we are 5 minutes early. How can that be?
Board comments?
We have board comments. Oh, let's do board comments. Okay. Let's start with Mr. Ford. Are you ready?
Ready just for you. I'd like to adjourn the memory of the people on this list and then congratulate Ms. Sanchez, the new president of Moore Park College. Wish them all the best. Took some time to get that done. Also, Congressman McKeon renamed the Simi Valley Post Office with the late Charles Neil Havens. It was interesting, who served as postmaster for 30 years, was appointed by Eisenhower back in '58. So it's a long-term deal, but it was really interesting. You look at his history. He joined the post office when his father was the postmaster, and his grandfather had walked those rural routes back all the way to 1912. So it's kind of a real history thing, and his wife, Pat, is reappointed to Cultural Heritage. For 40 years they've been serving. So that's been kind of cool. And then also, I think we've seen some pictures also of the Boy Scouts who go out and paint. That whole theory about you keep doing it and people stop doing it. And it's great because taking back that community program has really worked, and now there's less and less and less in Moore Park. It's the idea that people have moved. There's no place for them to paint. So I thought that was really nice. The other thing I wanted to just quickly was, I think you all saw the articles that came out, but the Medi-Cal rolls had swelled to 12.2 million in California, which is really disturbing in some sense. That's more than 31% of the whole state population. When you think about a third of the people, that's not good for all of us. And Brown was saying, providing health care for California is what we need to do, the right thing. I think that's true, but it isn't free. I'm glad to see he's talking about this. The feds are helping this, but it's going to cost us billions and billions coming up. And the other part was interesting. In order to qualify for this, you've got to be 133% of the federal poverty level, which is $15,500. But if you look at the 133%, that's $20,600, which is $9.93 an hour for a full-time worker. We've got to do a better job producing at least $10 an hour jobs in this state. We've got to continue down that path. But it also, some really disturbing things showed up in the new metrics that according to what's out there now is 23.4% of California residents are in poverty. That's really tough. So now California has moved to the highest poverty state in the nation, which is really a sad thing when you think about who we are and who we were and what we've done over the years. So we got to be careful. High taxed, high regulated, and high property, and now we got the highest poverty rate. We just got to figure out these policies to ensure that jobs get people jobs. It's funny talking to Bonnie Waggle. She was saying, we serve 70,000 people a day. We're feeding. He said, the way to get people out of poverty is give them a job. That is the number one way. So we have to make sure the policies that we do here, what the state's doing, is we got to figure out how to make these policies work. We got to be careful in what we do. So, my comments. I do appreciate also the governor trying to control this budget in a lot of ways to make it look better. I'm not a fan when he says I got billions of dollars here and we're going to the train, but he did make some good points in his budget. So.
Okay. Thank you. Supervisor Parks.
Thank you. Over the break, there was a lot of different things that happened, and some good things and some not so good, but I do want to thank a few individuals with our county. Both Kim Prilhart and Dan Clayman helped to expedite the removal of sediment off of PCH over to the state parks where they're going to be using it, and it's very much needed in Sycamore. But it was nice to see, I think it was New Year's Eve day, that they were working late just to get that permit expedited for them, so I really much appreciate that. I also was heartened to see the Sheriff's Department do a lot of good actions, obviously starting with their wonderful toy drive that they did, or the Shop with the Cop, but also we saw some events in the Thousand Oaks area. One was a man who was yelling to be killed and kind of trying to do suicide by cop, and it was just handled, the crisis was handled very well and had a good outcome, and particularly when you're seeing other incidents across the nation that aren't aren't turning out well. I'm just really was heartened to see that, and it was a dangerous situation. The man was armed, heavily armed, apparently. And then also just nice to see, too, that we've had a mountain lion visitor a little too close to the urban area, and instead of shooting and killing it, which has happened by other police departments, they were able to tranquilize it and move it. So happy to see that good outcome also. We have a couple of things happening. Therese Hughes has come before our board before with her project where she is documenting the history of women in the military with a photojournalism. And she had her In a Heartbeat photography exhibit open on November 7th at the Women in Military Service at the Arlington National Cemetery and the American Memorial there. Nice. So that was nice to see. She has documented... she's looking at going to 1,200. She has photographed some 750 military women, and going to 1,200 is her goal, and preparing for a second exhibit in 2016 too. Other things over the break, I know we got photographs of the empty parking lot at the Santa Rosa Park. No one's using it because of the fee that was instituted starting in the new year, but they are able to park for free across the street, and we won't continue to have those pictures sent to you, but it's something to know that as a result of that policy of paid parking, people are parking elsewhere, and it's not a friendly policy. Also, I did want to mention that as getting sworn in today, that one of my biggest thoughts is not to take anything for granted and not to take this position for granted. You know, we're always there working to help the public, do the public good, and while I didn't have an opponent, I still very much appreciate the hard work it takes to be in office and the desire to do the public good. So that's my thought. It's just I don't want to take anything for granted. And when we heard at the public inspiration moment here, talking about how the CEO's office and that kind of umbrella look at things, I think one of the good things that I've done in my position here is being able to appoint Mike Powers and watch the good that has happened to the county as a result of that. I also want to close in honor of a few people, a couple, one very sadly, Tyler Mark Lynch, a 30-year-old young man who died too soon, and just a sad situation, didn't wake up. So I'm sorry to hear that. And then also, sadly, Cheryl Moore, who lost her husband, Stephen Moore, and very unexpectedly died. And his company, First Take Productions, was specializing in recordings for television, radio, and original CDs, and very much into the music industry. And they're asking that contributions go through the Caneo School Foundation for the In the Groove music education, and also to Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Ventura County. I know he'll be very much missed. And then also Angelo John Nino Biasi, a World War II veteran that we've lost, who was with Nino's TV Repair for over 40 years. And also Fred Shop, a Marine who also was a volunteer who gave his time to the Ventura County Bar Association in his retirement. Losing a lot of good people, and ask that the board close in honor of those. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Bennett.
Thank you, Supervisor. I'd like to ask the board to adjourn in memory of people on this list, and I know we all have lists that are too long as a result of the holiday break. Just one thing I really would like to focus on. It was on page 3 in the newspaper, so a lot of people may have missed it. But the animal shelter advertised just on Facebook, and they said, hey, they wanted to try to build 175 beds for dogs. So that they slept better at night, and because they're crowded there at the facility, trying to maintain this no-kill policy that we have. Which I'll digress very quickly and say they made it for the year. It's really great news, and we'll do a celebration here in the boardroom in February. So we'll organize that, and I want to compliment them for that. But they just advertised on Facebook, and they had over 200 people show up. So suddenly they had to scramble. They weren't ready for 200 people to show up. They got everything done in an hour, right? I mean, they got done too fast. Matt Carroll came, make sure that things worked, and we appreciate his help. 2 longtime dogs, one Beauty, who came to the shelter in April with a broken neck, and Cryax, who had been at the shelter for 115 days, both found forever homes with all those people coming. So those dogs got adopted. Something really special is going on with animal shelter here in Ventura County. We are the largest county in California that has achieved this no-kill policy, and that's just an example of this go above and beyond, find different ways. The whole concept that comes out of our constant improvement culture here compliments to everybody from the top down for that to happen.
Great advertising, too.
What's that?
Great advertising. It was cold nose and warm toes.
Yeah, right, yeah. Just really knocking it out of the park. And I want to announce that this Saturday, the 17th, is the second half-price adoption sale is going on, and it's going to be from 11 to 4 p.m. at the Simi Valley Adoption Center. It's normally $125 to adopt, and it drops to $60 for that day if you want to get in there and do that. The other thing I was going to mention during consent, we approved an item, and that was the agreement for us to be able to operate the San Antonio spreading grounds. And with the long-term drought out there, everybody talks about we need to have new supply. We came up with a way to be able to skim off during these high flows, skim off some of that water and recharge aquifer up in Ojai. And when various organizations didn't step forward that normally fund this kind of thing, we were able to keep that project alive, step forward, and we've now signed the final agreement. We just need to have enough rain to be able to actually be able to skim that water off the top and do the recharge. But I want to compliment the Watershed Protection District. That project could very easily have just said, we don't have the funding, but they kept it alive, and we were able to get that probably the first real recharge project in a long time moving here in Ventura County for groundwater supply. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Supervisor Zaragoza.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Happy New Year to everybody. I think it's going to be a great year. I'd like to share that I didn't have much to share because of the holidays. I happened to go to Fort Worth, Texas to see my grandchildren for the holidays, and it was just great to go to Fort Worth, but it's really nice to get back. Really, even though it was hot here and so forth, but it's just really great to be back. I'd also like to share that my staff attended the menorah lighting over at the collections, invitation by Rabbi Don Munik. I'm sure I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, M-U-C-N-I-K. He always invites me over to light the menorah, and I couldn't make it this time, but my staff was there to assist. And also, one of the things that I did this last Saturday is attended the red carpet premiere for Selma, the Martin Luther King over at Oxnard. It was great. We had a lot of people there. It was a sold-out event. And also like to share with you that coming Monday, the 19th, we're going to have the Martin Luther King March, started from Plaza Park about 8 a.m. in the morning to the Performing Arts Center in Oxnard, and they're expecting about a couple of thousand people to do that march. Also, I just want to share with us, all of us, not to forget the victims of the recent shooting in Paris, France, and to keep their families in our thoughts. That was just a horrible event that happened out there. And also, I'd like to adjourn in memory of those folks on this list, and I'd like to call out a couple of people. The first one is Michelle Serros. She was an important role model for our community. She was a poet, a novelist, born and raised in Oxnard. She attended Rio de Valle Middle School, Santa Clara School, Ventura College, Santa Monica College, as well as she graduated from UCLA majoring in Chicano Studies. She had a long list of pieces that she did for the LA Times, Cosmo Girl, Huntington Post. She wrote for comedian George Lopez and was a commentator for NPR. Her book has been used at School for Chicano Studies in numerous universities, and we give our sincere condolences to her family and loved ones. Additionally, we have Anna Marie Agreas. Anna Marie was in our MAC for many, many years. She supported the El Rio community for numerous years, her and her family, and we want to give her condolences, and we're going to miss her. That's my report.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor. I'll start by Happy New Year to all, and I too have a list to adjourn in memory of. I won't call them out, just submit that. I'd like to cover just a couple quick topics. One is to again congratulate Mike Powers as co-chair of the third annual food share. I did attend the breakfast that celebrated the success of that food share drive. Over 74,000 folks are fed by food share, as was mentioned, and that there were over 192 pounds of food collected, and it was very successful. And the county won the top award because we rock. It was great.
192 pounds of food, I think you mean.
Most successful to date, collected over 192 pounds of food. That should be more, huh?
Sounds like it should be more. I bet there's
It was more.
there's a comment.
192.
It was a lot.
There's some thousands behind that, I'm sure. All right.
But
And
we had the winning tree.
we have winning trees, that's right. Also like to celebrate the reopening of the Wainimi Pier on January 8th. We had ribbon cutting. It had been closed for 8 months. Hundreds of people attended. It really was a great project with the city, re-engineering the pier, replacing 12 pilings, and the cost of over $7,000. In conjunction with that, it was great to be on the pier and look down and see the 2 million cubic yards of sand. That's already been pumped. Over 2.3 is the goal, so they're right on target. The remainder that's yet to be pumped will certainly benefit Silver Strand with 200,000 cubic yards. Contractor has done a great job. There hasn't been any break in the delivery of the sand. It's all been very smooth, so excellent project and excellent work done by our contractor and certainly Lynn Krieger and leadership of the Harbor District. The homeless count is coming up Friday, January 27th, and as we all know, it's very important for us to have a good count. We need volunteers still. We've posted that, and I know that there's the word's gone out. I've even seen in the paper announcement asking for volunteers to help with the count. It represents over $2 million to us in federal funds for our cities and our communities in this county, so it's important to get folks out there to sign up. And you can also sign up through United Way to help participate in that homeless count. It's a one-day count, and it does, again, it's very important to us. As was mentioned, the Martin Luther King Walk will be this Monday, the 19th at 8 a.m. at Plaza Park. It starts, and then at 9 o'clock they have a full program that will celebrate this 29th annual birthday celebration by the community of Oxnard and organized by Oxnard and organized for a countywide walk and celebration. Keynote speaker is Mr. Gerald Rivers, a trained theater actor from LA, and he will be speaking to Dr. King's writings and his message. And it should be, as always, a very good for the community to participate in, a good walk and that. And the governor's state budget proposal has come out, and highlights of it, I think one of the important ones to us is we're still in there to be paid back some of our monies at the local level, and CSAC will continue to advocate for that. Restoration of 7% across the board cuts to IHSS, investment in Medi-Cal to help counties with implementation of ACA, local governments $533 million in mandate payments, community college initiative, continued funding of SB 678 for county probation, and other things that I'm sure we'll talk about as it rolls out even more. And I had to have notes. Let's keep me on target. Okay. And lastly, I'll provide to the board members, I received a letter from, let me send some down this way, from Jerome Horton, the chairman of the California State Board of Equalization. And he basically sent the notice out to notify the communities of the upcoming free income tax preparation family resource fairs. Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, the EITC, and it's one of the most effective programs that we have in the counties, and to really help those who are at that poverty level, to help them to complete their filings and really get a return on taxes that for those who qualify in that low income bracket, and to assist them with doing so through resource fairs. The end of this month at the Ventura Job and Career Center, Monday through Saturday, you can go there to start filings for EITC, and also March 14th at Oxnard College. So I know every year United Way really helps with this. Our HSA is fully engaged on it. It's important that we do help with the earned income tax credit. One of the things that's been of interest to CSAC is to have the state do EITC as a priority, because it is frankly a very simple way of helping those who are at the poverty level with additional income. So.
And Madam
So
Chair,
you're aware of that.
Madam
Yes.
Chair, United Way does have a good program too that assists, in
yes, they do.
in providing
Also,
that.
the American Association of Retired Persons, ARP, is using my conference room now to
Mm-hmm.
teach free classes on tax preparation for seniors. So then they'll go out and be able to go to senior centers too. So ARP's doing this too.
And also El Concilio over in Oxnard does that.
They do EITC?
Yes. Just
Okay.
like me. That's good.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Chair Long. Just real quick to let you know, I think you all have at your desk there the second annual report for the county called At Work in Your Community. And we get a lot of requests from people about the different services the county provides with 26 different departments. So this is just sort of a snapshot, high-level highlights of different services and programs available. And I appreciate Bill Nash as well as Matt Carroll and all the departments for helping put it together. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And it will also be online and in English and Spanish as well. Thank you.
Bill, this looks really good. Very good. Very good.
That ends our board comments then, right? Everybody wrapped up? Okay. Just quickly on item 13, appointment of Board of Supervisors to boards and commissions and any other organizational changes. We'll have that on our next agenda. Heads up to you all. If you wish to dump VCOG, yeah, any organizational changes, please let me know, and we'll.
No.
It'll be on our agenda in 2 weeks.
So Linda and I are going to exchange
Now
it.
we're back on agenda, and our next item is the time certain 11:30, and it is the Edison, right? Right. Presentation from Southern California Edison, recognizing the county. I'd like to introduce this, if I might. And Rudy Gonzalez is going to come up. Thank you, Rudy, for being here. The County of Ventura's participation in local government utility partnership program is made possible because of our engagement with our utility partners through the Ventura County Regional Energy Alliance. It's a performance-based tiered incentive opportunity that we work with Edison and our gas company and help to work on our energy efficiency programs. And a number of key staff and departments who have excelled in bringing the county to new levels and reaching energy. I'd like to recognize Sue Hughes, Alejandra Telez, Kelly Kachana, Rachel Scott, and Mr. Gonzalez is going to highlight some of the key energy efficiency accomplishments of the county, recognize a couple of our dedicated county departments who have excelled. Mr. Gonzalez, you've been with Edison for 31
years, yes.
Were you 18 when you started?
A little older than that,
yeah. And you've been working with us through the Regional Energy Alliance for the 12 years we've been doing this, and we've really appreciated the partnership. So thank you for being here.
Great.
And we are being recognized for our utility partnership. So thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Powers. As mentioned, I'm Rudy Gonzalez. I'm Southern California Edison's region manager for the area. With me here today are Matt Garcia. He is the manager of our local government account management group. I'll have you stand. And also Irfan Parekh, who's the project manager in our energy efficiency partnership group.
Yes, Matt.
And today we're here to celebrate the County of Ventura's energy efficiency accomplishments. am very pleased and excited to congratulate the county as the first and only county in our 50,000 square mile service territory to receive Southern California Edison's Energy Leader Partnership Gold Award. As the nation's leader in energy efficiency, Edison appreciates the efforts of leading counties and communities in our service territory who participate in our programs and work with us to save energy and costs and help the environment. Edison's local government partnerships assist counties by helping identify and act on opportunities for energy efficiency and integrated demand-side management solutions in municipal facilities, and to support alignment with California's long-term energy efficiency strategic plan. We'd like to call out the efforts of one particular individual who makes up the county's team, and that is Alejandra Telez. If I can have her come up. And Matt will join us. We'd like to present a certificate of appreciation to Alejandra. She's been extremely instrumental in the county's leadership in this energy partnership, and we really wanted to call out her efforts. So congratulations, Alejandra. So the County of Ventura has been a great partner and sustainability leader, retrofitting their own facilities to be more energy efficient, as well as providing leadership and support to other cities in the region. The county has completed its energy action plan, implemented a utility management system and greenhouse gas energy efficiency savings analysis, and completed energy efficiency compliance training. Since achieving silver level in 2012, the county has reached over 2.6 million in kilowatt hour savings and earned more than $280,000 in rebate incentives. You're really taking advantage of our programs. With the additional incentives offered on energy efficiency projects at the gold tier, future projects will become more cost effective, resulting in overall better energy usage strategy in the county and more reliability. This is on top of the continuous money savings on projects already completed. It gives me great pleasure to present, and I believe we have a plaque, the Energy Leadership Partnership Gold Award to the County of Ventura in recognition of your outstanding energy efficiency achievements. These accomplishments were made possible by hard work and dedication of the county staff, some of you who you've mentioned, but I'll mention them again because they really are a dedicated staff and they're a real pleasure to work with. Sue Hughes, Rachel Scott, and Kelly Katana, and Alejandra as well. I'd like to ask staff to come up and receive the plaque, and part of the two groups that are particularly being called out are the General Services Agency and the Public Works, Water and Sanitation, and we'd like to have the representatives from those organizations come up and join us. The folks that we have listed from the GSA are Paul Grossgold, Paul Young, and Bruce Fisher. And from Public Works, Water and Sanitation, Eric Keller, Roy Marsh, David Sasek, and Jeff Pratt. These great achievements can only be achieved by a great team, and we have a great partnership with the county. And again, we hope that you'll continue to take advantage of the opportunities we want to save money for the residents of the county. Thank you so much. Yes, I will.
Yeah, Sue, go on up there. Sue, come on. Go, go, go. I'm going to join him. I'm going to join him.
Okay, everybody, you ready? We're going to take two. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to come in and do this. Thank you. Great work, team.
Thank you.
Again, appreciate it, Rudy, coming in, recognizing the county. Thank you. Good work. Alejandra, congratulations. Okay, we're going to receive and file this presentation. So moved. Second. Everybody vote.
They had to beg you to come up.
Okay,
so
there
now
we
you got to come
are.
again.
We're up.
Here you
Okay, now we are on item 50, the state and federal legislative agenda and platforms. Ms. Hughes.
Thank you, Chair Board. Chair Board, what a day. Chair Long, members of the board, Mr. Powers, and anyone else who's out there. For the record, Sue Hughes, the County CEO's office, wearing the hat at the moment for the legislative work that is done out of our office. And before you today is your proposed 2015 Ventura County State and Federal Legislative Agenda and Platform. As is done every year, I meet with county departments and agencies, their department heads and their staff. So first of all, I shout out and I thank you to all of those that helped me put this together. I really appreciate the time that they take to spend with me to explain some things that I may not fully understand so that it makes it clear when we're lobbying for or against something exactly what the issue is. So I'm going to say from my perspective, not a lot has changed. If you look at Exhibit C is what will show you what has been removed or what has been added. But it's sort of subjective for me to say that not a lot has changed. I guess I've been doing this for a long time. So I didn't see any big changes that I thought were something that might become an issue, but that might not be the case for the 5 of you. So at this point, I'm ready to answer any questions that you might have, and that's it.
Questions?
I'd just like to divide this up into 2 parts, the first 3 and then the second 4 separately, but I appreciate what you do, Sue.
Thank
I know
you.
you put a lot of time and energy to make this work, so thank you.
Thank you.
First 3 and then what?
The last section, there's 4 sections. There's 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So vote on the first 3 together.
If we don't have any other comments, I'll make a motion that we approve the first 3 first.
My comments, if I can, regarding the legislative platform. One, it was nice to see the addition of looking at the most desirable way of disposing of wastewater, and if it's injecting it or putting it through a sewer system, that we want to do what would be the most environmentally friendly, and in that case it looks like going through a sewer system. And then also appreciate the wording on drones, and I know that that's something we want to make sure that we're enhancing public safety, but also protecting the public's privacy. So I appreciate that. And then finally, along with Supervisor Foy, I believe his concern regarding the 55% vote threshold on the top of page A7, that one I'll not be voting for also.
We're ready to vote.
All right, now the rest. Now the rest of the legislative platform.
And again, I'm supportive except for that item.
I'd like to just make comments that it's always good to work on this with Sue and to work with the agencies. I think there were some good things put in this legislative platform that will give us the opportunity, should something mature through legislation at the state level, that we can then have further discussion on them. I think under the Veteran Service Office, it's great to have both Congresswoman Brownlee and now Assembly Member Irwin serving on our Federal and State Veterans Affairs Committees. I think that'll be of great value to our county. I appreciate that we're supportive of language increasing funding for the EPA Superfund account because of our efforts with Halico and the Ormond Beach restoration. And I think appreciate the work as always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I point out, it was just, my staff brought down a note. The newspaper wanted to comment on Congresswoman Brownlee was appointed to the Senate Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, which would be very good for Ventura County in terms of the ports, the Highway 101, the other infrastructure needs that we have here.
Thank you. That was going to be my comment too, and thank you for an excellent job.
Thank you.
Okay. Does that complete the agenda? We have closed session. Will there be an announcement?
There may be some announcements coming out of closed session, but I have a question on the last item. Just to clarify, the motion was the first three categories of Exhibit A and B.
Yeah, in the attachment A, is that what you're asking about?
Yeah.
Attachment A is the legislative state platform, and on top of page A7, it's the 2/3 vote for a 55% threshold. And I would like to not vote for that particular item, but the rest of the state platform I'm okay with. So that could be noted in the minutes. Top of A7, the 55% vote threshold.
Or do you just have to pull that out and vote it separately?
I don't think we need to go against the entire state.
No, I meant just that one piece.
I think you can note it.
Is that what you wanted to, Supervisor
So
Floyd?
that's what the action was. Yeah.
As to closed session, we may have an announcement out of closed session.
Thank you.
All I wanted to say is when our moment of inspiration, Maggie, came up, she didn't mention herself. You ever walk in that office with her, with a big smile, and how sweet she is, and yeah, she's wonderful. I didn't want to make sure that didn't get neglected. She's wonderful.
And a good speaker.
She's great. APCD at 1:30.
Okay, we have, we'll go into closed session. We're back here at 1:30 for APCD. Thank you all. Record time. Great. If I might, the Board of Supervisors have concluded our closed session, and we do have an announcement before we convene our meeting and go to the APCD meeting. Mr. Smith.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Two announcements on two litigation items. Item 60 is Ventura Foothill Neighbors versus County of Ventura. It's Ventura County Superior Court case 56-2008-003-23043, and the board authorized the filing of a petition for review with the California Supreme Court in that case. In the second case, it's item 61 on the agenda. And the court authorized the filing of a writ petition in the Court of Appeal for probation officer Mark Varela versus Ventura County Superior Court relating to a case, People versus Idalot. It's case number 2012-034850. And the vote of the board in both of those matters was 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And with that, the board's agenda is complete. We are adjourned as the Board of Supervisors. We can now do APCD.